This meeting of the June 2016 zoning board of the Village of Southampton is now open. We have 4 decisions, which we will take care of first. First one being 2890 Jody Donahue, 1211 Meadow Lane.
I move we accept this decision as proposed.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is
Who's
2910,
on that?
the African American Museum, 245 North Key Road.
I move we accept
Were you on
this decision as
411?
proposed.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next one is 2915, David Cardali, 414 Hill Street.
I move we accept this decision as proposed.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the last one is 2917, Akiva Goldsman, 1431 Meadow Lane.
I move we accept this decision as proposed.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You got both? Good.
Thank you.
Now, if you look at your agenda, you'll see that the first 4 cases on the pending cases, first 3 are pending the planning board, so we need no motion on those. On 2918, 50 Hampton Road, we have a letter requesting adjournment. Can I have a motion on that?
I move we adjourn for all purposes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that takes us down to pending cases.
We are in
2920. Omar Kadar, 111 Hetty Creek Lane.
For the applicant Gilbert G. Flanagan, 21 South Main Street, Southampton. As you know, this is a continuing application that's been heard twice before. And at the last meeting in May, you made a request and asked some questions about some possible modifications or additional information on this application. And I believe that we've attempted to submit the information and answer the questions that you had. We submitted some materials for the work session, which I hope you've had a chance to review. But I just thought I'd run through them very briefly, since you've received them and hopefully have had a chance to review them. One of the first comments that you made was that you suggested that we see if we could step back and landscape a portion of the existing retaining wall that would be located to the north of where the garage is and where the proposed new structure would be. And we've done that, and that's been reflected on the plans submitted and also on the photographs, which you should have in the file. They were all done June 1st, 2016. It's also reflected on the site plan, which shows that we did angle back that retaining wall and also plant in front of it. I hope that we have done something sufficient to satisfy your concerns on that particular matter. You can see it in part on drawing S1. Drawing S1, that's what we have to be looking at. You can also see it not only on the side view, but also on the site plan where it's been, patio's been cut back and the planting done in front of it. So we hope that we addressed that particular suggestion, which was a good one. So if you also look at S5, you see that again, this is a so-called existing versus proposed view looking west towards the existing garage and also towards the proposed new structure. And again, you can see, right now you can see the retaining wall and the fence, whereas here it's beveled back and it would be planted as proposed. We hope that we take care of that. There was also a question you asked about what were the grade changes between the street and where the structure is. And actually that information is shown on the site plan and on the radius map that was submitted. And if you can examine these very small numbers that appear, you'll see that there is about a 9-foot drop in elevation between the street and the location of the proposed structure. In fact, you can see, if you look at the right at Hetty Creek Lane, the elevation is at 15.88. And when you go back to where the proposed structure is, the elevation is 6.26, so there's actually a 9.6-foot drop between the street and when you get down to the location of this proposed structure. I should also point out that the plans we submitted reflected the fact that we did lower the height of the structure by a half a foot, which therefore also reduces the amount of cubic footage violation of the front yard sky plane from 3,769 cubic feet to 3,508 cubic feet. Now, it bears repeating that part of the existing garage already violates the sky plane, so we're not asking for all of that relief. It's about 700 and some square feet of the existing building that violates the front yard sky plane already. Now, it just bears repeating that this is a rather unusual situation, and that this is a flagpole lot, it's an interior lot, it's located more than 200 feet from the street, and if one were to practically apply a side yard sky plane under the current code, the proposed building is way under that limit, so I would hope that, given the relatively unusual nature of this application, we might take that into account. Or just to point out, the existing garage violates the sky plane by 793 square feet. So we're really looking for relief to the extent of 2,715 square feet. And from my notes of the last meeting, I think those were the particular issues you wanted me to come back and talk about. And I hope I've done that. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. Mark Matthews, the architect, is here if you have any technical questions which are beyond my ability. Other thing I just will point out, which I think is helpful, on one of these drawings, we overlaid, look on S4, we show the proposed structure, and we dotted in the location of the existing garage, so you can see there's really not that much of a difference in the overall height if you look at S4. I think that's a helpful and instructive drawing to look at. As you can see, the existing garage takes up most of where we're proposing to construct anyway. It's outlined in red.
Well, I would just like to restate that what might move me favorably is the fact that it is a flag lot and not intrusive to other neighbors. And I don't want to say that we're going to extend great leeway with the sky plan in general.
No, I understand. That's why I said I think this is somewhat unique. I agree with you.
Also, it's a wetlands lot, and you comply with, keeping it, to make it comply, you might interfere with wetlands.
Correct. In fact, we submitted at the last hearing, we submitted drawings that showed it less of a pier and blow, but then we pushed into the wetlands, and I know Mr. Voorhees would have a fit if we did that. And we like the wetlands to buffer the way they are.
I don't think that's what it said in the minutes.
I'm taking a little poetic license with it. But I agree with him, and my client agrees with him, and that's why we like it the way it is.
Jerry? Rick?
No questions?
Chick?
No questions.
Questions? Is there anyone out in the public who'd like to be heard in this application? I assume you want to hold us a written decision, right?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
In favor?
Thank you very much.
the application of case number 2921, Mark Curdy, 27 Henry Street.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Okay, we're back, we were here twice before about the 2.5 feet relief on the south side of the property for the pool. Last time I was here, you asked me to check if the garage cottage was able to come down. I spoke to John Foster about that, and that, he said it's valid, pre-existing, non-conforming, so I am able to take it down and put up a regular 10 by 30 pool house. As far as the pool, I'm giving up a second CO on the property for use of a 12 by 30 foot pool and a 10 by 30 foot pool house, which I'm ARB approved and health board approved. So I could get a 10 by 30, but since I'm giving up the cottage, giving up the status of a year-round rental, in order of a pool, I think a 12-foot pool would enhance my property, and that's what I'm asking for.
Has that cottage been rented recently?
It's rented now.
Rented now.
Yes.
You were also asking for parking too, right?
I'll conform with the parking.
You'll conform with the parking, which means you'll change the parking you have now?
So you're withdrawing that request?
Yes.
That was the one part I had no problem with. So I got a problem with the pool,
I understand.
being 2 feet wider than it should be,
2.5.
2.5 feet wide.
2.5 feet.
Yes. I know on Howell Street, you granted a 30-foot relief.
For a pool?
I'm sorry, on Howell Street, yeah, front yard setback. You granted one on Fox Hollow and Moses, you granted a 10-foot relief there.
On Howell Street, we gave a,
Howell Street,
variance?
2919, Paul Niehala, he had a front yard. He was given a 30-foot relief
for a pool.
for a pool. This was just recently.
That was from a dirt road.
Guilfoyle.
Yeah, which is a non-existent dirt road.
It was a 30-foot relief.
Right. It wasn't on the street that anybody traveled in. It's a privately
Not
owned
yet.
dirt road.
It was still a 30-foot relief that was given. I'm asking for 2.5 feet.
I know. I mean, you know, there's relief and there's relief. You gotta look at the circumstances of the entire
I understand that.
project, not
You
just.
know, and then 110 Fox Hollow was given, I believe, a 10-foot relief for a pool. They put a pool in their yard.
How long ago was that?
2009,
Was that from the side yard, front yard?
front yard,
Wait a minute, that's on,
What are the
Fox
circumstances?
Hollow and Moses.
that's Moses.
It's a
That's
corner property.
Ogden. It's really in their backyard, so that was the Mara property?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
This is in my
That's so
back, this
far
is in my
off the street,
backyard.
you can't even hear the water. It's way off the street. It didn't affect any neighbors.
This is not affecting my neighbors. My neighbors have no problems with me.
Well, it won't always be the same neighbors, the neighbors change. And once we give the variance stays with the property.
I
Maybe
understand.
we'll sell it next week, you know?
I understand that.
Well, as you know, I have a problem with the pool. You can swim in a 10-foot wide pool just as easy as you can in a pool that's another 2.5 feet wide.
Well, it's a matter of enhancing my property, you know, with a 12-foot wide pool. The pool you get to use 2 months a year. The cottage I could rent for the summer and I could rent for the winter.
We
Which,
understand that. You are giving up something, that we understand.
I'm giving up something. It's less cars, it's less pools.
Hmm? Yeah, it does, but not.
I'm surrounded by 20-foot
Pools are different
hedges.
circumstances.
I don't think I'm gonna be disturbing everybody.
Well, now you got a pool violation, what are you gonna do on Elm Street?
Right.
Well, there were people who wanted pools, and they were short,
Elm
3 or 4
Street, we
feet.
wouldn't let them have it.
You're gonna, if we give them 2.5 feet, they need 3.5 feet on Elm Street, what are you gonna say?
Well, the question is if you're giving up a CO, are you?
It's his choice to give up the CO, I'm not impressed with that.
That's true, okay.
It's his choice, if he wants to blow away the COs.
Well, you're giving up one violation for another violation?
Well, that's pre-existing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Non-conforming.
Non-conforming, you know, you're giving up one.
Pre-existing. That's there, we can't do anything about that, it's there. James, you want any input on this one?
Giving up a CO, you know?
Jerry?
I think he's got a good argument.
Seems like you got 3 votes, Rick?
So I got 2 votes.
I don't have any questions. We can close it for decision unless there's somebody in the public for it.
Anyone from the public like to be heard to this application? Therefore, we'll close this one up to decision.
So,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The application of case number 2922, David Einhorn, 50 Pheasant Close East.
Good evening, Board members, John Bennett for the applicant. This was presented about 2 months ago, and it's, just refreshing your recollection, it's a request for a 60-foot front yard variance on Pheasant Court East. It's a 2 front yard situation, and Pheasant Court East is actually located, used only for access for one other house. The board did give a grant.
John, just a minute, you got something here that came in today?
Yes,
Well, actually, it's dated tomorrow.
well, that's my, maybe that's my dyslexia. I'll
We
take the
had,
hit for the person.
We had a
that-
neighbor that asked if anything came in today, and I told him no.
Excuse me?
The neighbor asked if anything came in today, and said she went to the building department, and they told her nothing had come in. And now we got all new data here.
No, it's very, very simple. It is. When the application was first presented, I didn't remember any board member having any issue with it, to be quite candid with you. Of course, that's ultimately up to you. But I noticed that there had, the survey at the time, the addition would cause an overage of lot coverage, and I knew how you guys feel about lot coverage, and you grant relief for that. So I went, the only thing that you have in front of you, which we submitted today, was a survey showing revised lot coverage calculation. And as my letter states, that's as a result of my meeting with the building inspector, and we're revising some of the improvements so that there will be, actually the lot coverage will be decreasing. So I never asked for a lot coverage request. I'm not foolish enough to do that before this board. I presented the application solely as a front yard variance request from 80 to 60. I don't remember the board or anyone having any issues with it. I put in quite a bit of information. So the only thing that you see is a survey which contains a corrected lot coverage calculation. Doesn't have anything to do with the request for relief. As a matter of fact, I'm just submitting the survey so that the survey that I would ask you to decide on has a lot coverage that is not violative of anything.
All right, but the issue is that this neighbor who has some concerns went to the building department, was told there was nothing new. She asked me if there was anything new, and I said, there's nothing in my package. I go look at the file, and here's this thing, about 88 pages.
No, it's not 80.
Well, I know, I'm exaggerating.
You know, Kevin, all it is a survey that shows a corrected lot coverage. That's
The
all it
neighbor's
is.
gonna have to have a chance to look at this.
But it doesn't reflect any additional request for relief. You had before you a request for a front yard variance from 80 feet to 60 feet on a corner lot on a parcel that you have already given relief, much greater relief for the tennis court, recognizing that this is only one other house that uses this, it's a dead end. So if I was asking for some sort of additional relief, that's nothing more than housekeeping. The survey that you had before you, when you heard the application, had a lot coverage that didn't comply. I'm giving you a survey that merely shows lot coverage that complies. It doesn't have anything to do with an additional request for relief. It really, if I may, shouldn't have any bearing on your action because I'm not asking you for any relief. I'm merely, the building inspector, we were able to rejigger some things, change some of the improvements on the property around so that now this will comply. If I hadn't done that, in addition to the front yard setback relief that I wanted for the addition, I would have needed lot coverage relief, which I know you guys don't give. So, you understand, this, all it is 10 copies of a new survey that shows a complying lot coverage. Doesn't change the request for relief at all. So I don't think,
The fact that it came in tomorrow,
well, it's stamped the 20,
it's stamped the
What's
24th,
today's
tomorrow's the
date?
24th.
my letter's dated the 23rd.
Right here.
I don't,
department's
the building department
Building department
stamp
stamped it
is
wrong.
incorrect. At first I thought my typist was incorrect, and that, being a good boss, I took the hit because I got heavy shoulders. Actually, it turns out that
We
it's the
put you at
building
the end
department.
and we stayed till after 12 o'clock.
Excuse me?
If we put you at the end and we stayed till after midnight,
I sort of feel like it's a little surrealistic now. I sort of feel like maybe am I going down a rabbit hole?
is the basketball court gone?
Yes, the basketball court.
Basketball court is gone.
It says basketball court to be removed.
That seems to be one of the issues.
Oh, yes, I remember she was here last,
Yes.
and she wanted the
I just
basketball
wanna-
court gone.
Just want to repeat that so we know it's
Yes, the
gone.
it says right on the survey, basketball court to be removed.
Yeah.
So, again, if what I've given you, today, but the building department received tomorrow, was something changing the request for relief, I would understand, but all I'm doing is giving you a survey that
How many copies did you submit?
10.
10?
It was after 4 o'clock.
Nope. If it was after 4 o'clock, it wouldn't have got this.
Well, I don't see 10 here. I see, this is the new survey that you're talking about?
It's a survey, yeah, it's a lot coverage has been corrected. And you can see, because it says existing wood deck to be removed, that was causing the lot coverage issue. But my cover letter says, please find 10 copies of the revised survey, and I saw the 10 go out of my office.
This was revised on June 13th, right? That the one? Make sure I'm looking at the right one?
Yes, revised site plan, June 13th, exactly. Existing wood deck to be removed. If you compare it with the old survey, that just showed the wood deck. And that's how we're getting the lot coverage back. So the deck is going from wood to a patio, which is a long-standing interpretation of the building part.
You don't want to show that to the neighbor, do you?
Is the neighbor here?
Yes, she's right there. Maybe you.
Yeah. Oh, please come up, yes.
Okay, let me tell you. Hi, my name is Vicky. Okay, I'm a busy physician. I have an office full of people. I called today. I made an effort to come last Friday because I know, guys, you have a working schedule last Tuesday, so I came last Friday to see if anything was presented. I was told no. Diana, who's a very nice person in the building department, told me, call me Wednesday. If they have something here, you come tomorrow. She said, it's going to be adjourned. No way they're going to proceed with something that the prints are not here. She told me that yesterday. I said, Diana, can I call you back tomorrow? So I called her today. I called at 12 o'clock, I called at 2 o'clock, at 3:30, 3:45. There was nothing in here. I started to drive. I did drive 4 hours for this meeting.
As I said, this came in late.
It came in after 4 o'clock. Okay?
No.
He said
Yes,
it
sir.
came in at 4.
And that's it.
They closed at 4 o'clock. It came
They locked
in
the
at
door.
4.
Yes.
They changed the.
And that is what is the next day.
Well, the
step.
issue you have mainly is the basketball court, right?
No, no, sir.
Well,
Let me tell you.
that's one of your issues, and that's
No,
gone.
yeah, let me put it this way. The basketball court, if anything, we were very gracious. The basketball court is 2 feet from the street.
But it's gone.
No, it's not gone yet.
It will be gone.
It will be gone.
Last Saturday I was walking by now by the thing bumping at 2 feet from my.
That's gonna be gone, so
That's
we
going
don't
to
even
be
have to
gone.
talk about
But
the
my-
basketball court.
No. What they're trying to tell us here is that this is a functional, what do they call it? Let me know the name.
Side yard.
A functional side yard. It's not. I have been spending my summers at 60 Pheasant Closes for the last 20 years, okay? 20 years ago, there was hardly any delivery in Pheasant Close. Pheasant Close is a circle. There are 3 openings to the street, okay? There are 3 street openings. And there are 2 places in between the street openings where a truck is on a run. Okay, nowadays between Amazon and everything else, there's plenty of deliveries going on all day long. A small car, if it gets into Pheasant Close and goes to one house and wants to back up, could make a U-turn. None of the big trucks could make a U-turn. So that,
But that's not an issue here.
yes, the issue is because there's a Pheasant Close, what he's trying to say is a dead street. It's not. It's a very, very active street.
Yeah, but there's nothing,
There's
there's no access.
What do you mean there is no access? From Pheasant Close, I have here a survey. I handed I handed all those papers here.
Access is right
The
here.
surface is here. Pheasant Close is a circle, okay?
There's
Okay. One access.
There's Pheasant Court East and there's
Pheasant
Pheasant
Close
Close East. Which one?
Pheasant Court East is being used by all trucks and people to make a
Yeah,
U-turn.
but they don't have an access into that.
What do you mean there's no access?
You can see on the survey, ma'am,
Who has no access?
They don't have a driveway going to
driveway
Pheasant
doesn't
Court.
extend to Pheasant Court East.
No, but they're asking for the variance as if it was a side street and it's not. The 80 feet, that's what they make about.
But they're not
They should
using
They're
it.
not using it.
be- You're asking for 60 feet from the street, no?
Yes, because it's 2 front yards.
It's 80 feet, it's not 60 feet, sir. It's not a functional standard, it's a side street. It's a front yard.
Yeah, but how does that affect you?
It affects me, I will tell you how. I gave you all those pictures, I probably have a booklet of pictures. It affects me because it's already, you can see from the street already in the garage and the fix at 60 volts. It affects anybody who wants to, people come and go around Pheasant Close. They want to stop for a drink of water. This is people from the community, okay? Stopping in there. Random people that I took a picture. It affects us. It's not that nobody uses. It's wrong. This is just random people stopping
Concerned
there.
about the traffic.
For a-
sitting in the road.
That's not their
But
property.
it's a road. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
It's
but
a
that's
road.
not, that's not
It's not
these
the
people,
property.
that's
It's not
the
their
public.
No. These people have marketed, let me tell you, I'm a physician. When you take care of a family for over 20 years and they trust their life to you, you're getting very close to them. One family that I took care of, it's a prominent New York City family. They're very well known in New York City for, their generosity to all kind of charities. It's composed of a couple, 2 people, and a lot of stuff. Mostly the driver and the cook. They have 3 grown-up children. Those 3 grown-up children are married. Each one has, a significant other, so that makes 10 people, okay? Yes, 10 people, let me finish, 10 people. Each one of those 3 children have 3 children, so it's 9 people, so it's 19. Plus 3 nannies makes it 22. This house was rented to this particular family, okay? 22 people in one house. So I asked this woman, because we're very close, I said, why make you decide over this property over any other property in Southampton? Because, frankly, it's a small house for them, and, they're super affluent. She said the fact that we were told by the real estate agent that we have a functional side, functional side thing. So when they closed the gate that was going into Pheasant Court, they started marketing this as a functional, as an extra piece for the property. There used to be a gate going to the garage. The gate disappeared and the house is being marketed for over 20 people, okay? And
The number of people, that we have no control over that.
no, we have no control. But
Could we stick to the issue? The
The issue is-
basketball court was your one issue. One issue, that's gone. Now, what's
No.
your other issue?
my other issue is, this is a front yard. It's not an
We know it's a front yard.
It's an actively
He
used.
just said it's acting as a functional side yard. He
It's
knows
not a
it's a front
functional
yard.
side yard. It's a very active use.
He knows it's a front yard.
That's
We
why
all
I'm
know it's a
here.
front yard, it's a corner property.
But he shouldn't be granted 60 feet, he should be conformed 20 feet. He has plenty of room to do his extension where he removed the deck. The extension
She
should not
is
be.
removing the deck.
Yeah, but she should do the addition there. I didn't even have the chance to look at this new printer. Why? Was it given after 4 o'clock?
Well, I
so
already
couldn't see
told
it?
them that came in so late and you want to look at it, so now you'll have a chance to look at it.
I haven't even seen it.
Well, you go to the building department, get that, or go to the building department, get the whole thing.
What?
Who are the people that are having all these children?
What?
Who are these people that are having all these children procreating and stuff?
No, they're not procreating that much. Let me tell you one thing.
What happens in these last generation? They're gonna be,
No,
Nine
they're
more?
not procreating. It's a couple with 3 married children, and each one of the children have some children, okay?
That's okay.
goes on like
And it should be okay for anybody. If it's your house and anybody knows where the toothpaste is and when it's a rental and you come just for weekends, it's like a motel. Now they want to do more rooms for staff and guests based in my house. Let them contain to the 60, the 80 feet that is required. I don't want them going 60 feet. There's no reason in the world why they.
Lowering the lot coverage,
We're
right?
lowering the lot
He's
coverage.
lowering the lot coverage, not increasing.
The lot coverage, there are 3 issues, sir. The
He's
lot
lowering it.
The lot coverage was over as it is,
But
okay?
he's lowering it,
I understand.
so it's legal.
Okay, he's lowering it, okay?
Right.
But now the 60 feet in place of 80 is not legal, and he should not be granted that. They should accommodate in the Atlantic Act. Why should they go over to my side?
Your issue is now the 60 feet.
The 60 feet,
Okay, all right.
absolutely.
Okay,
Would you
we got it,
prefer
we got
that,
it.
would you prefer that he keeps the basketball court?
Sir, the
And what
basketball.
if they have tournaments and stuff?
Do you know what a basketball is? 2 feet. Look, we never complain,
Would
okay?
you- Isn't it an improvement,
What?
what's going to happen?
No, it's going to put 5 windows facing my house.
By windows?
Yes, 5 windows
There's
facing
big
the street.
hedges,
Eh?
there's hedges.
Mass-
No, the hedges are mine, they're
No,
not
no,
big.
on our
I
property,
appreciate-
photographs of mass coverage.
We have massive hedges, you don't have massive. I have a picture
I've been
here.
there, I've seen the hedges.
You can see it from the street. Look,
And you have a road between you and the house
Now,
next to
you
it.
got rolling
Exactly.
hedges.
and there is recognized so much as a front street that the act for this is being in the side street, it's not in the front. I have a big issue with the 60 feet.
Okay, we got your issue.
Number 1. Number 2, I would like a chance for this to be a shown as
You can have a chance to look at it.
And me to have time to digest this, okay?
Of course, you're gonna have a whole month to digest it.
Okay, so we'll do it, see him again in a month.
She's gotta have a chance to look at the whole
You
thing.
cannot present something after 4 o'clock when I tried very hard to get it.
It has no effect on any request for relief. If anything, it's showing you that I'm coming into closer compliance
I
with
understand. It would have been much
Because
better if
you
this
were not
got in before
declared-
the-
only.
if this got in before the work session, we wouldn't be having this problem.
Okay, number 1. Number 2, the only reason you are giving relief now is because I didn't complain 10 years ago.
Okay, thank you.
Would there be a possibility for a decision next month?
Yeah, if you have any comments, why don't you get your comments in writing before the work
I
session?
will, sir, I did it last time.
No,
and I-
before the work
I
session,
know.
which is the 19th
I know,
of
last
July.
time I did it, and this time I try very hard to do
Get your
it.
comments in so we can
Yeah,
proceed with this
okay.
case.
I will be submitting nothing else.
Okay, all right, we'll be
So
submitting.
you will
that.
not submit nothing else?
I will be submitting.
So there's no need for me to come and find out every 2 hours what did you submit?
No.
Okay, fine. Don't submit anything else.
You have anything, Rick?
You want to close it for decision, subject to written comments by the work session?
I think that's a good idea.
So moved. Second.
Okay, do we have anybody else that'd like to be heard in this application? No. Okay,
Seconded.
all in favor?
Let's make sure the neighbor understands what we've done is we've closed the hearing,
Yes, I understand.
subject to your submitting written comments by the work session.
I will. I
Okay.
submitted
July
my,
19th.
I submitted my written comments before last time.
So
Okay.
you don't need to come to the next meeting unless you want to,
I will
because
come because,
the hearing will have been
You know,
closed, but any comments that you submit by the work session will be considered.
the meeting has been closed.
Yes.
But you can submit written comments.
You
So
can
the-
submit something in writing before the work session, so we'll
And
have a
what
chance to
will
look
happen
at it.
after the work session? There will be another hearing here? No.
There'll be no further discussion
further
after the work
discussion.
session.
So get it to us in writing before the work session, the 19th
will.
of July.
I will give it to you.
So then we can digest it, we'll have time to look at it.
Because to be hearing that, you know, they're being gracious to remove a code that should not have been there to exist for the last 5 years. It's just outrageous. I mean, people
Okay.
are doing a favor. And is there any idea when you're going to remove the basketball court?
Well, after they get the decision and we start working.
It's illegal as it is today, even if you don't grant any
They're
decision.
not gonna do it tomorrow.
Okay. That court should not be there, period,
They're not gonna do it tomorrow.
regardless of any record you have.
Okay,
You are over the line and you are,
okay, we got it,
you never got the variance.
we got the message.
Okay?
Can I just do a quick two-for, and I'm up here, I just
You wanna do a quick
adjourned.
what?
Two-for, I'm up here, I wanted to adjourn one of the
So
cases.
which one?
It's, Dottie Herman, Dorothy Herman, so that I don't have to wait around for it, it's okay with you. I think that's a lot coverage request that is before you. I told the architect, the board doesn't smile on those
On the same
requests, so.
street.
So what I've done is I've.
Yeah, it's on the same
done
street,
rejigs
John.
and stuff, to try to.
You wanna adjourn
Adjourn it.
2928?
Yes, in all likelihood, I'll be withdrawing it, but I don't wanna do it yet. So we can adjourn it.
No basketball court on it,
There's
is
no basketball court on it.
it? We have a motion to adjourn 2928.
We adjourned that there.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Thank you. I'll-
2 for 1, John, very good.
2928. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
You just gained some points with that.
I was hoping.
The application, case number 2923, Amen East Corp., 276 North Main Street. I wasn't here last month either. The attorney was here last month, but not the applicant. There's a no-show. Are we adjourning?
I move we adjourn for all purposes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The application, case number 2924, Dialects Realty, Hampton Road.
For the applicant Gilbert G. Flanagan, 21 South Main Street.
We haven't heard this one before, have we?
No, you haven't. In fact, I adjourned it at the last meeting because we wanted to get some additional information on parking, which I have to bless you with this evening. I'll try to be as brief as I can, though this is a presentation in the first instance. You'll recall from the application that this is an application for a single variance, namely relief from the required off-street parking requirements of the village code in order to permit the conversion of the second level storage space into space for 2 permitted office uses. And as we calculated, when you take into account 2 sections of the code, we would be short 7.8 parking spaces, which amounts to 8 because you round that up. Now you have in the original application, you have the floor plans for the proposed offices, which were prepared by John David Rose, the architect. The first office to contain 1,370 square feet, the second office to contain 885 square feet, to a total of 2,255 square feet. I'm just telling you how we got to the number. So you divide that by 180, which is the requirement in the VB district, you come up with 13 spaces, but there's another section of the code that says in the VB district you take 60% of that, so when you do that, you wind up with 7.8. As you can see from the survey submitted, the site itself will not have the room to accommodate additional on-site parking. There is room currently for 2 off-street parking spaces right up against the south end of the building, and so we can't count them because they're, even though they're not formalized, there's room to park there. So I thought maybe we could get credit for those, but I see we can't because the room is already there for parking. See that? Just for reference. In fact, when we got site plan approval to put the storage space on it, right here over this sanitary system, there's room for 2 on-site parking spaces right here. In fact, I have another map I can give you if you want it. This was the site plan that was approved by the planning board. And we put the addition on, and it shows those two spaces. So we've provided all the parking we possibly can on the site, and I have some copies of that map, which I'll hand up to you. So much of the space is going to be background information. Now, the interesting thing about this, if you look at this map, which we submitted with the application, you see it notes about some rights-of-way. Actually, there's a right-of-way that passes across the remainder of this property below where the two off-street parking spaces are. There's a right-of-way here and a right-of-way here, and if you go back there and drive, you can see this, it's all pretty much the access that comes. Okay. It's pretty much the access that comes from Hampton Road to get to that parking lot in the back. And I believe, and I'll have to check a little further, I think that when the village acquired the strip of property next to this property, again, this is village parking, owned by the village, that there's also an easement that extends along the back of the subject property. And my hope is that you might take that into account in considering granting the relief, because if this weren't, we could probably accommodate 3 additional spaces. You see, it's 30 feet wide, 3 10 by 18 spaces. You could fit 3 spaces on here, but we can't because there's an easement. Just before I get off that subject, I'll give you, I have a copy of the agreement we entered into with the village when we put the second level on this building. In fact, Jerry's probably familiar with it since it belonged to his family. We got permission to install additional drainage structures, or actually the planning board wanted us to help solve a drainage problem that became in off Hampton Road. And interestingly enough, attached to this agreement between my client and the village, which was done in 2012, attached the planning board resolution, and it recognizes that when the village created that access that leads from Hampton Road, in fact acquired the property for it back in the 70s, nobody really thought about what that did to the off-street parking that some of those stores could provide. It just wasn't even thought about. So I'm hoping you might take that into account when you consider the application. I'll hand this up. So you have copies of this. I know it's a lot of paperwork, but I think it's important. We all know parking is a significant issue in the village, and there have been studies done, as you probably recall. Back in 2007, Nelson and Pope did a parking study throughout the entire village. And back in 2008, I presented a copy of this study when we made an application for some relief for the property that's on.
You gave 2 million to them, and you gave 1 to me, so there's another one back.
Okay. Better rather than none. So in 2007, I submitted this, but I'll give it to you again. I have multiple copies of this, so let's see, 6. Okay, and the relevance of that is that, as you probably know, since the study was done, the design of the parking lot south of all the stores on Hampton Road was changed. It was reconfigured. And I have some information on that. So the question is, you might have, what happened when that happened? Was there more parking? Was there less parking? Well, actually, when that parking lot was reconfigured, there was a loss of some spaces, but it was accompanied by the school providing a number of spaces for the teachers and the staff to park on the school property. And as you know, many of the teachers and the staff used to park on this property. So basically, I can run through the numbers very briefly. At this point, if you look at the first fold-out, we're talking about lot number 5. It's the first fold-out page. that you find in this parking study. You'll see there's a big 161. That's how many spaces were there in 2007. I went to the Village Highway Department, and luckily, they had a map that shows how the parking was reconfigured subsequently. And it was apparently done by the state as part of a grant, so this map is a state map. And if you will see, there are various number of parking spaces that are actually labeled here. And I'll hand up a copy of that. That lot now has 127 spaces in it.
Good. So the lot that had 161
Once it had- now has
now has 127?
127. Let's see, I think that's, maybe there are too many of these, but I'll hand them away. However, at the same time, there was an increase in the number of parking spaces that were provided by the school. In fact, the school parking has a total now of 36 new spaces that were created. So when you add that, that comes out pretty close. That comes out to 163. So there's actually a net gain of 2 when you combine the parking behind the stores and the parking on the school. Now, in addition, I asked the Highway Department, because as you also know, they changed the striping on Hampton Road between Main Street and Pine Street, and what that resulted in. And there was an increase in the number of parking spaces that are now provided on Hampton Road. I'm just trying to see here if I have the number on that. I do have a letter from the Highway Department, or an email from the Highway Department, which told me how many spaces were added there. Actually, it's 32 spaces, the diagonal parking, and I have that verified by the...
An increase of 32?
No, that's a total of 32. Now you look at, you go back to this table, there were 23 spaces.
All right, so you got 9 more.
So you got 9 more there. So there's a net increase
Between where
overall
and
of
where
11.
When you say added 9 more between,
Main Street and Pine Street, so in this section where those
Okay,
stores are.
okay.
Yeah, and that's,
that added 9?
that added
Can you
9.
just slow down a little bit?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Because when you're describing something that we haven't seen
Yeah, I
yet.
know.
This is the revised layout of the parking lot behind the Hampton Road stores?
Yes, that's correct.
And how many spaces? Is that on here somewhere?
127.
127. If you look at all the little circles, they have them numbered. If you look at, see it's labeled here. You can add them all up, and I did it separately. It's 127, if you add those numbers all up. Now, one thing that I should say, that is a little less, but when you combine it with see that, I should qualify that. That drawing doesn't show what happens when you go around the corner north-south from Hampton Road to connect to that. So I had John David Rose's office make a survey of how many parking spaces are to the north and west of that, because it's really, there's a lot of parking here. In fact, there are 10 spaces that are right up against my client's property. There's additional 28.
Little parking lot, you mean, it's
Yeah, there's a parking lot that's behind
the
the
rest
airport.
of this building we're talking
Correct,
about.
right, and there are 30 spaces provided there. I should have clarified, so we
They're often filled.
Right, they're often filled. But when you add that to the 97, you get 127. I apologize for that. Folks, just give me a copy of that.
All right.
Yeah. And I can summarize
I'm
this.
going to ask that you summarize all this in writing,
Sure will.
otherwise we're never going to go to
Okay.
get it ourselves when we have to look at all these things.
All right,
So
I
it's
fully
up, from the math, it looks like there's been 11 new spaces.
That's correct. That's, the bottom line is there are 11 more spaces now than there were in 2007. And I will summarize this, and I apologize.
But that's counting the school parking?
Yes, one of the reasons for that.
Okay. When you do your summary, give it to us without counting the school parking and counting it, because the school parking is not a municipal off-street parking area,
Right,
nor on-street parking.
right.
So, I don't know that that's a relevant factor.
The reason I did mention is.
I understand your argument,
Right.
but break it out both ways.
I'd be happy to. Yeah, so that's the background for the actual parking situation, and I will summarize it in a memo to the board before the next work session. So we would think that, given all of the circumstances, the request for 8 spaces is not unreasonable, especially given the fact that there is parking directly adjacent to this building. And in fact, we could have provided 3 more spaces if it weren't for the easement, which the village, I think, has ultimately acquired.
So you're requesting 8,
Yeah, requested, so I could make an argument that you might
which you'll pay
consider.
for, of course.
What, which, yeah, I asked for it, but I'll pay for it. Okay. One might consider the fact that I could have had 3 spaces if there wasn't this easement, which I believe the village, everybody else enjoys, so that really, we're really talking hopefully about 5. In some cases in the past, I believe you have given consideration when the village has an easement over a piece of property. So I think that's essentially it. I did ask my client about why he needs the space, and basically his answer was in order to do that, he would be able, if he got the additional office space, he might be able to realize a 5.5% return, which I don't think is an unreasonable or a greedy kind of return on an investment. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. I know I apologize for not having given a memo, but my client was adamant that I move this thing forward, so here I am.
Your math did overwhelm me.
I would certainly hope so. I had a good teacher.
Yes, you did. It was a long time ago.
That's right. The year that John F. Kennedy was assassinated, as a matter of fact.
Yes, it was.
So I will do a memo.
Do we have any more questions?
No.
Rick?
I'll reserve after
Right.
any questions until after I see the written summary.
Is there anyone from the public who'd like to be heard to this application?
I do. My name is Skip Ralph. I'm the owner of 1708 House and also 25 Hampton Road, which is virtually across from the property. Now, it's a very nice looking property, and I think they did a very nice job on it. The community does not need more office space. Plenty of property zoned for office space. Actually, office space was added some years ago. I remember when it happened, for the purpose of stores would have offices in connection with their stores. I mean, back room office, one thing or another. So they said, well, let's add office zoning to the village business. There are a lot of numbers there, Mr. Fireman. And you make a very good point. I mean, I don't see how you could include the school as part of this calculation of parking. Now, I like the building. I think it's very good. I think a much better solution would be building upstairs, square footage he's talking about. It's a 30 by 100 foot building, a 3,000 on the first floor. And he's saying because of the staircase, it's only 2,250 or something like that. But basically, there's 3,000 on both floors. And 6,000 square feet. And essentially, it's built full on the lot for all practical purposes. A little bit in the back, maybe 3 spaces, that's it. The rest of it is public parking, etc. What we really need in this village are apartments. And if you, the second floor there, because they've been put in really nice windows and that sort of thing, you have a very nice 2-bedroom in the front and a 1-bedroom in the back. It would be 3 bedrooms. Generally, you figure 1 bedroom, 1 car for each bedroom in an apartment situation. And in this case, the apartments would probably be rented to either somebody who works in the stores or a store owner. And so they wouldn't necessarily have to have a car so close by. So you'd actually might gain 3 spaces in terms of what you now have. Of course, the big factor in the whole thing is Cinderella. Holy smokes. The amount of cars that were added with Cinderella is uncountable. And every one of those parking spaces in the is counted for this person, it's counted for the next person, it's been counted 5 times. So it's kind of ridiculous. So I would give support that I can for the idea of 2 apartments. And it would actually help the parking situation. But by the way, on the first floor, there's about 13 people working on the first floor. See, I mean, the eight spaces. And also, in the notice I got, they have this fiction of $8,000 per space, and they wanted relief from that. Well, I mean, why?
We don't grant relief from that, so you don't need to comment on that.
Okay,
I'm not gonna fight them on that.
okay. So I'm just saying that there are better solutions. Now, I've got a building across the street, I'd like to put a 2nd floor on, and I've been beaten down twice over the number of years I've been out here over that. Actually, Mr. Flanagan knows the story. And in fact, he once told me, he said, why don't you spearhead the idea of having 2nd floors? Well, it so happens the building I have is a concrete block building, built in 1981. It's not fireproof, but it is walls that are pretty much fireproof. I don't know whether they have a sprinkler system in the building, but it seemed to me that when you got all wooden structures, all of these things should have to have sprinklers in them. I mean, you know, if the village ever catches on fire, I mean, it's gonna all go, as far as that goes. And actually, what I told Mr. Flanagan years ago was, look, even though I was seeking to put an apartment over top on the 2nd floor, if I build it, I don't think that there are very many buildings in the village. I looked around, didn't do a scientific survey, but it looked like maybe there's only 6 or 8 buildings that would be suitable, but now don't have 2nd floors that would add on. And one of the things that the building that I have, you wouldn't lose, generally you lose some frontage when you put on the 2nd floor if you have a 1st floor. But the building I have has a good access from the rear, and so I wouldn't use any frontage. So that's the thing. I'm fully against the whole business of the parking, but I am for the idea of apartments.
What does the zoning say about having this building or any other building in that area have an apartment on the 2nd floor?
Okay, when the village did the master plan update for the BB district and then amended the zoning code to incorporate some of it, there is now a provision in the zoning code for apartments on 2nd floors. I don't remember off the top of my head the details of it. Let me see if I have that.
Well, the gentleman is looking. I wanted to get a code, village code. Unfortunately, you're not even printing up a village code. And the one I had was, pretty old. I find out you have to print it all out. I think you got to print the village code. Side comment.
There's a code book, is that not?
No, according to the village here, it's been like 7 years. I mean, I have kind of given up on it. Yeah, they all wrote. Now my oldest grandson is, he's just going to be graduating next.
Okay, there is a
And you may
provision
take
now
over
in
for
the
me
zoning.
and take
Oh,
over.
I'm sorry. There is a provision now in the zoning code that apartments on upper floors in the BB district are a special exception use, meaning that they're potentially available by application to the zoning board.
And the
So the
return
owner would
could
have to make the application to have an apartment there.
Excuse me?
The owner would have to make an
Of course, I
application to have an
understand.
apartment,
I know.
but he could get it.
I think that the return would not be substantially lower than office space. Because office space on the 2nd floor goes for a lot less than that sort of thing. And if you got somebody that, say, 2 people both had jobs in the village, they could afford pretty decent rent, and, their commute would be non-existent. And that sort of thing. the best part of the bed and breakfast, no commute. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who'd like to be heard? Therefore, we're going to close this one for all purposes.
Or we're going to adjourn it for all.
Adjourn it for all purposes, sorry.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
By the way, I will take that suggestion back to my client.
You said something about the return. You calculated what his return would be for having office space, maybe give us what the return would be with.
That's exactly what I'll do.
apartment space.
And don't forget to subtract 5 parking spaces. At $8,000.
On the application, case number 2925, Thomas and Julie Frisk III, 446 First Neck Lane.
Sorry about this. The applicant, Gilbert G. Flanagan, 21 South Main Street, Southampton. You may recall that this application was heard in the first instance at your last meeting, and there was an objection raised by one of the neighbors. And since he also submitted a memorandum at the hearing, some of the points of which I think we answered at the hearing, but nonetheless, I submitted a letter memorandum in response to that, which you should have gotten in your packet for the work session. I could also tell you that since then, we've received a letter of support from the neighbor to the immediate east of the Frisk property, who is the only other person directly affected by the nature of the variance relief being requested, and I'd like to offer that for the record. It's a letter from Robert Giuffra, who owns the property, formerly belonged to one of my former clients, I can't remember right now, but in any event.
Bill, there's some additional copies there.
Yeah, I'll take them, I made a bunch there. So he is, because of the discussions he's had with Tim Rumpf, who's designed some landscaping plans for this project, he's comfortable that the application would satisfy him, and with that condition, he's in support of the application. The question was raised during the initial hearing about the existing garage. I did research it, and I think I submitted with the memorandum a copy of the certificate of occupancy, which was issued for the garage. So as far as my clients knew, everything was fine. As nearly as we can tell, it may have been a surveyor's staking error. Maybe the surveyor was aware of the exact nature of the variance that was granted. I really can't say because I wasn't involved with that. But as far as my clients are concerned, it was not intentional on their part, and they thought everything was fine because they did get a certificate of occupancy for it. I don't know, the only other thing I'll offer, which you may not have had, I mentioned that this application was discussed by the Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation a couple of days before your May meeting. Well, since then, at their meeting in June, they actually passed a resolution on June 13th indicating that they approved the proposed construction. So from an aesthetic and architectural standpoint, they thought it was fine, and I have copies of that decision for the record. I think, again, it bears repeating to look at the aerial photograph map of this property was prepared by InterScience, and again, looking at the location of the subject property and the proposed improvements relative to the surrounding neighbors, and which also shows the substantial screening. And again, it bears repeating the nature of this front yard is actually the east end of a private right-of-way that services only 4 properties. So unless you have any questions, that's about all I have to say on this one.
So what's changed since last month?
Nothing really, except I've supplied the application hasn't changed. I've just submitted additional information in response to what the neighbors had offered. And I've given you the ARB approval and the consent of, or the support of the other neighbor. But the application hasn't changed.
The neighbor to the east is...
The neighbor to the east isn't supported. He's the only other one from whose line of variance is being
The neighbor
requested.
to the south is still in opposition.
So far as I know.
Yeah.
Is there anyone from the public like to hear this application? there something that's in the file that's new in regard to the neighbor to the south since last month?
No, there is nothing new. I do have a submission.
I thought there might be a new letter, but there's not.
I was going to submit a new letter
okay.
this evening. The applicant's latest submission was copied to me, but it came just a few hours before the work session on the 14th, so I didn't have an opportunity to submit written comments to it. I do have some responses to a couple of the issues that were raised, and in addition, I think some of the things that were raised trigger a new, actually two issues that I wanted to discuss tonight. Just for the record, Patrick Fife, Sumi Latham Shea, Kelly Dubin, and Colorado, 33 West 2nd Street, Riverhead, New York, for Whitney and Helen Stevens at 468 First Neck Lane. If I can, I just did want to submit the memorandum that I have and some exhibits, including among that is the video. I only have one from the clerk's office, but it's the video from the 2005 variance application for the garage, because I think there's some relevant discussion that took place there that bears on this application.
Actually, that's the first, somebody submitting a video.
Yeah.
Yes, they're all the same. Yeah. The only thing the copies don't have is the discs. As an initial matter, just a comment, I think Mr. Flanagan raised that, and it's in his letter as well, that the applicant appears to think some type of more relaxed standard should be applied because this is, quote, technically a private, not technically a private road, but rather a right-of-way. In the 2005 variance hearing, actually Mr. Flanagan himself point blank said, it's a road for zoning purposes and it's, quote, more than a common driveway. The board's decision in 2005 also referred to the road as a, quote, private road, close quote. But no matter what you call it, just from a legal standpoint, right-of-way, private road, driveway, access road, whatever it is, the setbacks apply with equal weight here. And I think here, as I made the argument previously, I think they should be more vigorously enforced where the road's only 30 feet wide in comparison to a typical village road, which may be 50 feet wide. Also, I've pointed out in Exhibit E to the submission that I have here, the applicant's garage, this is actually based on current conditions, is approximately 157 feet from the Stevens property, and the variance being sought here is an additional approximately 35 feet. That would place the home of the applicant over 100 feet closer to the Stevens house than any other house in this little enclave.
Over 100 feet closer because it's 37 more feet?
No, than any other house, I'm sorry, than any other house on the private road. Now, obviously, it would only bring it the distance requested in the variance. I've submitted Exhibit C, a photograph from the bedroom, the second-story bedrooms, which I had mentioned on the first night, that look right out to the front of the house. It's clear that the applicant's home structure as it presently exists is close. It can be well seen, and this is the area where the proposed expansion is, despite the presence of hedges, which in the photograph obviously are in full bloom, but certainly are not throughout the entire year. But even with the hedges there, it is close, and the proposal is to bring the house and the garage closer. I think another concern that I raised and I just wanted to address because it's mentioned in the 2005 hearing video, that the garage's location was raised as a concern by the neighbors in 2005. And those were actually the words concern, or the word used by Mr. Flanagan at the 2005 hearing. The applicant agreed to move the garage back, and it's not rebutted that the applicants told the Stevens that the garage was not going to be living space. And now we're here 11 years later with a request to take that garage, convert it to living space, and put a new garage 35 feet closer to the Stevens property. I think it sets a really dangerous precedent in the village to allow a variance on top of a variance when the initial variance was premised on the need for a garage because the house didn't have one, and now we're seeking to convert that garage into additional living space. I also think the applicant, to despite the fact they're saying it was an innocent construction error, surveying error with the current garage not conforming with the variance that this board already granted, the applicant is legally required to seek a variance for what currently exists. There should be a violation issued. It's clear it's not only built beyond the scope of what was approved in the building permit or the plans attached to the permit, but the setback does not currently comply. I think that the public notice for this hearing should have addressed that particular issue. It doesn't. In addition, I think the variance that is being requested here is substantial, and it will change the character of this particular enclave of homes. And we're in a 3-acre zoning. This is a 1.1 acre lot. If you look on the tax map that I attached as Exhibit D, it is the smallest lot in the entire area. 40, 50 homes in the surrounding area, the smallest lot. And now you're seeking a 55% deviation from the front yard setback. That is, I think, a textbook example of a substantial variance. There also is an increase in the number of bedrooms associated with the variance request, and I think this is a huge issue because I don't think the applicants have addressed this. The public records that I have seen show that the applicant's home is 4 bedrooms. Mr. Flanagan's submission to the board on June 14th says 7 bedrooms. And I've laid this out in the memo, but I just want to kind of talk you through. But in 2005, Mr. Flanagan's office submits a letter, June 24th, it's Exhibit F, and that was in connection with the earlier garage variances. The house is a 4-bedroom house. I looked at the video from 2005. The applicant's then architect also represented to this board 4-bedroom house. And the reason that was important was because the board had concerns about the off-street parking requirements and wanted to know how many bedrooms. And the off-street parking was calculated based on a representation that there were 4 bedrooms. We now have a claim that there's 7 bedrooms, and we're only going from 7 to 8, so it's really not a big deal. Since 2005, though, there have been no building permits issued for additional living space, no COs that reflect existing living space in the basement. It appears on the plans there are 2 bedrooms in the basement. I don't know how they appeared. Either the applicant misrepresented to the board the number of bedrooms that existed in 2005, or there's been some change, an illegal change in the number of bedrooms that currently exist. I think it's something that the applicant needs to address as part of this application before any determination should be made, because I do think it is certainly relevant to the impact to the community, the impact to the environment. Additional bedrooms are going to increase sanitary, certainly impact the number of guests, the number of visitors that you're going to have, traffic, noise, etc. So I think that's a major concern as to the cumulative increased intensity. In addition, the bedrooms leads to another point. I don't think the applicant has met the off-street parking requirements in section 116-14 of the code. Code requires 2 spaces for a dwelling and the first 3 bedrooms associated with it, 1 space for each additional. The applicant has shown 7 spaces. However, section 116-14L2 also provides studies, offices, playrooms, additional family rooms, media rooms count as bedrooms. This was enacted last year for the purpose of counting bedrooms. I looked at the applicant's plans. They have 8 bedrooms, a second living room / study. They've changed the label in prior plans and earlier submissions. I think they called it a study, but it's a second living room on the plans. They also have a basement media room, which again, under the code, should be counted as a bedroom for the purpose of calculating off-street parking. Requirements under the code, therefore, are for 9 off-street parking spaces, not 7. I think on that basis alone, the application should be denied, or the applicant should be seeking an additional variance for off-street parking. I don't believe there is any way to reconfigure the current plan, given, and my concern and my client's concern really is this change from the garage to living space and that additional, the new construction of a new garage right on the side where they are. You've got a lot of density there, and now to say you're going to have 9 off-street park spaces, it's not possible. I mean, maybe their architect can come back and expand the driveway in a different part, but let alone that basis alone should be a reason for denial. I think, as we've pointed out previously, there's no evidence of hardship here. This is a self-created situation. The applicant came to you in 2005, decided where it wanted its garage. So it laid the framework for where we are today. This is not a situation where someone's come in and inherited a property. They created the canvas that they're working with today. And I don't think it's fair, and again, it sets a dangerous precedent to allow somebody to say, hey, I needed a garage, and now I need that garage to be living space. Just lastly, I think, again, given the concern about this being the smallest property, 1.1 acres in the area, we're in 3-acre zoning, I think you also set a potentially dangerous precedent on such a substantial setback for owners on 2, 3, 4-acre lots elsewhere in this particular area. So I would ask that the board deny this application. I also would ask that to the extent the applicant does submit additional information, the record be kept open. I do have concerns about the number of bedrooms, again, that currently exist and what's been stated and what's shown on plans, and there being major inconsistencies. So I thank you for your time. I'm available if you have any questions.
I have a question with the photo in Exhibit C.
Yes.
Just what angle did you take that from? Because I'm looking at Exhibit E, and your property that you represent is angled. So actually, that is not a view, that picture from the front of that house. You had to go way to the, I guess it's east, it's west, to take that picture. It's a little specious.
No, it was taken.
Those bedrooms in that house is oriented this way. You're
Correct.
taking the picture, and the argument that it's all in front of her face is from that way, and there's not even any windows up there.
The
They
windows
go that
this-
way, they go this way. This picture is specious to see.
I disagree with that representation. The windows do face to the northwest. The angle of that photo is to the north. And somebody could stand in front of the window at this angle, look out the window and take that photo. It was taken from the second story of the bedrooms in the home.
Well, if it was a nice wide-angle lens, I'll tell you that.
Well, maybe some of the rooms weren't considered bedrooms, because the large chances
If they're converted in the basement, do they have proper egress, do they have proper sanitation issues, any questions? First of all the bedrooms downstairs are staff quarters, and they do have egress that have been inspected, and there is a CO. Do we have that? No. This is the proposed garage location in 2005, showing 31 feet to the east and showing 63.3 towards this guy's clients. We're actually exactly where we needed to be with both surveys. The as-built and the proposed, we're actually 9 inches further to the west from the easterly neighbor. So we're in full compliance. We were issued a C of O for a garage simply because the clients wanted a garage. Their family has grown bigger. The bedrooms are tiny. The media room is the size of this area. The labeling of the inside of the house is a series of libraries and studies and living rooms. The house is orientated east and west, as it's shown on this site plan, with all of with the proposed bedroom, which is 1 story, and the proposed garage, which is 1 story, and the pool house, which is also 15 feet, 1 story. None of which we feel is even visible to this opposing neighbor. The support for the neighbor to the east is documented with the letter. We have gone back in the files to look. We've always said that there's 7 bedrooms in this house. We provided the additional space of 8 for the single bedroom that we're adding on, which is the master suite. So there's been no changes in terms of the proposal from day one on this project. We did try to, or I did try to contact Whitney Stevens before this proposal even went on, and I had no response. We feel at this point that we've hired a landscape architect. We've taken the buildings to a very low position on a challenge lot that has a continuous front yard that runs all the way from the most westerly point down to the supporting neighbor to the east. And we feel, I feel very strongly that the client, the Frists, have been a very, very proactive application here in protecting the neighbors with landscaping and with the heights of the building and fenestration and such. They did want to bring the two surveys in, which are in the record as being right where we were supposed to build it. I resent the fact that they're saying they made mistakes. The only thing that I see is that the board, the ZBA, had approved during the process of construction, had approved one thing that's about a 5-foot difference. What this application would do would envelope that anyways. So it's a matter of a minor detail more than a major factor. And it's not uncommon for a lot of houses in the village to have space as a growing family. These kids were, one of them wasn't born yet, the youngest, to grow up and need additional rooms and, if you will, move out a little bit or readjust the interior of the house.
If there were 4 bedrooms in 2005, how did they get
On the
to
first
7?
floor, meaning there's 2 bedrooms on the attic, or if you will, second floor, and there's 2 bedrooms on the first floor.
Were they bedrooms then?
Yes, they were.
The attorney says that it said there were only 4 stated in 2005.
The opposing attorney says that.
I
What
know
we're
that, I
saying
know.
from day one is that there were 7 bedrooms in the house.
There were.
Last year, the year before, last 10 years. There's no trickery going on.
No, so, I mean, we have a CO that says that, do we?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You have a copy of the CFO? It just simply says detached 2-car garage, breezeway, front brick terrace, rear entry doesn't indicate the amount of bedrooms, and it's dated from 2006, the COO for the construction.
It doesn't say how many bedrooms.
I would,
That's just the CO.
If I can finish.
That's just the CO for the
Finish
garage
the minute,
that he's referring to.
Yeah.
thank you.
I've attached all the COs to my submission.
I will say that I believe Gil has the surveys on the amount of bedrooms in the house.
This is,
I do have the CO that was issued in
you know, the sex
2005.
parking issue, you know, that's what I want to make sure we have this right. So-
And we also expanded the sanitary system, as you know, for Suffolk County.
And after, if this were granted, you would have a total of how many bedrooms after this was granted? Would be
8.
8 or more.
Danny, most of the bedrooms are very, very small, and they're service
Yeah, I
bedrooms.
went through the floor plan. We
Yeah.
saw that the 2 small ones in the basement.
Right.
I just heard on those 2 issues. I just take issue with the fact that I'm being accused of misrepresenting anything. The applicant was given a variance in 2005 to 71 feet from the private road for the construction of its garage. Its current plans show the existing garage to be renovated at 65.3 feet. So I just, it was stated that everything was built according to what was approved. It was not. I mean, this board has the final say, obviously, as to what's approved when it comes to variances. Second, I'm not the one who said 4 bedrooms. In June of 2005, Exhibit F, you see here that the applicant makes the representation in this letter that the house is a 4-bedroom house. In addition, you can go to the videotape, as Warner Wolf, let's go to the videotape, as Warner Wolf used to say. The videotape from 2005, the applicant said 4 bedrooms, and that's what the parking was calculated on. So I think there's and I've attached the COs for not just the garage, but I've attached the COs for the structure. They make no mention of any finished habitable living space in the basement. The 2005 CO, which was the conveyance CO from when the applicants purchased the property, calls it a 2-story single-family residence with deck and arbor. also small deck at east end of residence, accessory swimming pool. And have attached the subsequent COs for the garage renovation, or garage addition. Again, no mention of anything in the basement, so it does appear that, again, I don't know, I haven't been in the house, I don't know what we're dealing with, but certainly there's an additional 3 bedrooms that are being referenced as exist now and don't appear anywhere in the village's record or have not been, the village zoning board has not been advised in connection with prior application.
Well, you're right. This letter's dated June 24th, 2005, and states right here the house is a 4-bedroom house.
Can you clear this up with the building department, Gil?
I'll find out, just as a matter of information, as you know, COs typically in the village don't have a specified number of bedrooms.
But,
I'll find
we
out.
don't know, and we don't know if those bedrooms are legal or not legal. So at some point, either
I'll find out.
you don't find out for them, or they've gotta go and make it legal, you
Make
know?
additional parking. I understand that. I
Yes.
understand that.
And I know they were inspected because I was there, the egress is legal with the rails and so forth.
Right,
Been there for
that-
10
but-
years.
So, but we don't know that, you know,
No,
so.
You're entitled, you're
Yeah,
absolutely entitled.
that's important.
What I would like to do, if it's possible, is to hold this for decision, subject to written submissions by the work session.
I'll get you the information, but
Too many
I
questions?
think we need to keep this open. A lot of questions here.
Yeah,
Wait, May? We put this application with 7 bedrooms in, which is my understanding of how it's been quite a while. You're asking for new information to make sure that's the C of O. No issues with that whatsoever, because we've had a C of O. We wouldn't have been granted a C of O when we didn't put any bedrooms in 2006. We simply built a garage and a sunroom.
But we have this letter that says in 2005, there were 4 bedrooms. Now, maybe the code has been changed, and certain rooms that weren't considered bedrooms before are now considered bedrooms. Is that possible?
I don't think so. I know the Frists very well. I've been entertained there a number of times. They haven't made any changes to the house.
I'm
in
not
10
saying,
years.
maybe there was a room that was called something else, like a
It
study.
could have
Now
been.
it's classified as being a
And to be
bedroom.
on the safe-
Let's look into that, that's
Yeah,
probably.
it's
what
just
happened.
gray right now, and I want,
understand.
To be on the safe side, we claim as the maximum amount of bedrooms, which is 7, it would be 8 with this, and we've changed our parking to satisfy 8 spaces as well as to increase the sanitary system.
There's a remote possibility the CO was issued improperly, too.
Agreed.
I would ask that the record, the hearing be kept open, and I also would note that even if there are 8 bedrooms, pursuant to code, there is still insufficient off-street parking as shown on the applicant's plans, given what the code defines as a bedroom.
They have to be 7 spaces.
It actually needs to be 9 though, because the plans show 2 family rooms on the first floor. Under the code provision, if you have an additional family room under the first floor, that is treated as a bedroom, as is the basement has an additional bedroom that is off one of the bathrooms that's called the immediate room, which again, the code defines as a bedroom for the purpose of
It's
calculating.
not quite that simple. There's also a question which nobody has mentioned yet as to whether that new law even applies to this house, to the existing house.
Well, I think in connection with the application to increase the
Right?
number.
You have to look at the sections of the zoning code. It's not clear that it applies to the pre-existing house in this case.
It would not.
It was aimed at new houses. It was aimed at demolition of pre-existing houses and construction of new houses to replace it. It was aimed at where you have an existing house and rather than demolishing it and doing a new house, you're gonna reconstruct it and do things like that to it. There's a specific provision in there, I don't have it in front of me, that it doesn't apply unless the cost of the reconstruction exceeds 50% of the replacement cost of the existing house. So there's a question as to whether that law that you're citing.
No, I'm familiar with the language you're citing too. I think that only applies exceptions in certain cases of reconstruction and not a global.
It hasn't been addressed. All I'm saying is you can't just assume that it applies.
Understood.
Is there anyone else from the public like to be heard in this application? Therefore, we're going to hold this one open for all purposes.
So moved.
All in favor? That brings us down to the new cases, the first one being 2926 Marsha Rickless, 700 Meadow Lane. You up again, Gil?
I'm up again, and then I'm out. I'm up and I'm out. Like the old days, you know.
Right.
For the applicant Gilbert G. Flanagan, 21 South Main Street, Southampton, I have the affidavit of posting and the affidavit of mailing. Okay, this is a two-part application. It's an application for a front yard variance, but not a setback variance to permit the construction of two small tennis court and storage sheds adjacent to the existing tennis court at a setback of 94.9 feet from the street where 90 feet is required, and also a wetland special permit for such construction with a net reduction in the amount of impervious surface that's next to the tennis court. I would submit that the front yard variance is fairly straightforward on this application. As you can see from the survey, this is a large piece of property, and the tennis court is located in the extreme northwesterly portion of the property. It does have a C of O, and I have a copy of the village's permit history card that shows that the tennis court does in fact have a C of O, which goes back to 1982 apparently. So that would appear to be a lawful pre-existing non-conforming tennis court, for which we don't, it's in the front yard, but not the required front yard, which I know is something you always take into consideration when you review cases of this type. The tennis court is, as you can see from the surveys, closer to the street than the proposed two tennis court sheds. Now, each one of the sheds would contain only 76 square feet. They truly are sheds. They don't have any plumbing or anything like that in them. So that'll amount to a total of 152 square feet of coverage. Actually, there's a presently existing impervious patio that's located on the east side of the tennis court, which shows on the survey submitted, and that's to be removed. And it's proposed to replace that with a pervious surface with an open pergola, which doesn't require a variance because a pergola can be located in the required front yard. So there's actually going to be a net reduction in impervious surface of 223 square feet, which we would think is significant. That's actually more than 50% reduction. The new terrace itself would be 641 square feet, but as I say, it's going to be constructed of pervious materials. Now, in addition to the initial application, we also submitted on June 10th and before the work session a construction methodology that was prepared by the architects, which you should have in the file. And you also have a set of floor plans and elevations for the two proposed storage sheds and the pergola that's located to the west of it. You should have this drawing as well. As you can see, there's quite a bit of distance between the tennis court and the house where you could possibly have storage. It's several hundred feet. So we would think that two sheds of about 76 square feet each would be suitable and appropriate. We thought it would look better and less intrusive than having one larger building. We think that would be more suitable. If there's anything else I can give you in terms of exhibits. I assume you have the construction methodology,
Yes.
which was a one-page thing. Obviously, if you look at the photographs that were provided with the architect's site plan, you can see that where all this is going on, no matter where you look at it from the street, you can't see the tennis court and you won't see these two sheds either, nor would you see the pergola. Part of the plan includes an augmentation of the buffering around the wetlands. We'd actually be increasing the wetland buffer with a bunch of native species which are identified in the lower left-hand corner of the architect's site plan. The total revegetation area of about 3,400 square feet, which we think would have a net environmental benefit, as would the reduction in the amount of impervious surfaces. So if you have any questions, the architects are here. If you have any questions, and I'll try to answer any others you might have.
No plumbing or water?
No plumbing, no plumbing or water. I don't even know if there's going to be electricity in them. Is there? No electricity, no utilities at all?
Just for the tennis ball machine.
Just for the tennis?
Yeah, so there would be electricity.
Electricity,
Yeah.
okay, but no water, no plumbing.
Rick?
No questions?
Chick?
Just a couple. Gil, could you just summarize again, I just want to understand, the 641 square feet is the current size of the impervious patio that's there now?
No, that's what was the pervious patio would be.
I wasn't quite clear on what was there now.
The impervious patio is 375 square feet. Impervious. And we'd be replacing it with a 641 square foot pervious patio. But there would be 152 square feet of impervious surface going in there to amount to the two sheds. So
Okay.
it's actually a net decrease in.
And is that all in the record, in the plans?
Yeah.
I had a little trouble finding it.
Yeah, it's
Each of
on,
those
if you
pieces.
look at the plans, all that, on the architect's plans, that's all shown.
That appears to be an older copy of that check.
Okay, this one,
I can get this out right here. I had it out before, and I'll get it out again.
okay, I see it now.
Yeah, it's all.
Yep.
It's all
Got that impervious.
right.
And then I just need to check the plant species. They generally look good. There's a couple I may want to check as far as their origin, if they're native or not. And then the only other thing, overall, I don't really have a problem with any of it. I do recognize that the area of improved surfaces is expanding a little bit, but there are certainly some trade-offs. I think the revegetation is a very good trade-off around the tennis court, and the reduction of impervious is very good. We are within the 125-foot landscape setback, but it's really a fairly active area now under current conditions. So generally, I don't have any real problems with it. But I did notice that there were some consistency issues between the plans. The Saskis survey refers to the, I guess it's a construction access area to be revegetated. And that has a certain configuration that provides for parking. And then when you go to the S-1-4 site plan, it doesn't say anything about revegetation. It does show the construction access area, and I guess it shows the existing lawn paths. And then when I looked at sheet TH-1, that's very inconsistent with both of these other plans. So I'm just not, this sheet T1 seems to show narrower lawn paths, vegetation that's a little different configuration. And I just wanted to understand what is being proposed, which plan is accurate, and then have all the plans be consistent.
Question between this, I assume that it's this one that's controls, am I right?
Kirk Lehman, architect.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? The TH plan is out of date. Saskis and the color-coded plan are accurate. We can update the TH1 to match those. This was
Okay.
our original plan, design plan from the beginning.
Okay.
The color-coded plan is
So
correct.
to revegetate on the Saskis plan, what does that mean? What will be revegetated? In other words, it looks to me as though that's probably gonna go back to, you're gonna have to revegetate
Correct.
these areas that are currently natural and reestablish the existing lawn path?
Correct. These areas we need to clip just to get the access into the work site, and these would be revegetated. So we could do the
So
same
there's
color.
actually, I mean, if these areas are gonna be disturbed as part of the construction, I'd wanna know what's there, if there's any possibility of aligning this a little more closely with the existing path. And, you know, just to think about that, rather than removing that natural vegetation and then going back and putting it in again.
I do believe we need a little clearance here, but I could absolutely see your point here. We could align that. So,
Okay. And then just the consistency, but that, once that all gets worked out, I'm sure you'll make it consistent.
great. We'll have that for the work.
Oh, and the only other question I had was the type of impervious surface that's proposed. In other words, what's the material? Is there a runoff coefficient? What is its impervious quality?
We'll check with the landscape
Pervious
architect.
quality, I should
We'll
say.
get you.
Okay. Those are my only questions.
Everything else?
Nope. Anything else?
Is there anyone from the public like to hear this application?
Sounds like we should adjourn it for all purposes.
Yeah,
because you're gonna want to
we're talking
see
about
some-
something.
Couple of little issues.
Okay.
And nothing major, but we'll all look at that.
We'll get them all in advance of the work session.
Okay,
All in favor?
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bringing us to case number 2927, Samuel Feinstein, 119 Cooper's Farm Road.
So for the applicant, my name is Luke Farren. I'm the project architect, going with Kevin O'Sullivan and Associate. We're requesting relief from the pyramid restriction on the east end of the house. The main ridge of the house runs east to west, parallel with the street. And the design intent was to keep that ridge unbroken. The way our office interprets the pyramid rules, it's to protect privacy for the neighbors. As it happens, the property to the east is village-owned park. So there is no neighbor now, and I don't think there will be in the future. The neighbor across the street to the south does not have any significant views that would be blocked. So we felt within our right to request relief from the pyramid.
Here we go.
I'll also add that the space that's being requested with relief doesn't add any habitable space.
You have an extra?
It says proposed garage, you already have a garage there, right?
There's a garage there now.
Is that going to be replaced?
You know, we're pricing and value engineering the project now, so we're actually leaning towards keeping the existing garage.
It says proposed pool. There's no pool.
There's a pool there
There's a pool
now,
there, right.
but it's a vinyl pool, and they'll probably put in something.
Put a gun on it, right?
Right.
So you want pyramid relief from something that's not built yet, that's brand new?
That's right.
In other words, you're going to add on to the east side of the house?
The goal is to actually remove the house and build a new house.
Where's the pyramid?
Interesting, that this was up for sale by like 2.2 million or something. I don't know
Right.
what they paid for it, probably close to that.
Close.
So, is this that wing
Lined up
off
with-
to the left of the front of the house?
So if you're looking at the front of the house, the south elevation, it's the upper right, the east end, the east gable end of the house.
Over where the stairway is going downstairs,
Right,
so it will face the empty lot that's owned by the village.
face the empty village lot. So if you look at the south elevation in your packet, there should be a reference to the portion of the roof that's beyond the pyramid plane.
It's a whole brand new house, you couldn't design this without having to have pyramid really?
Well, the thinking was that the unbroken ridge from east to west would be a little more of a statement, and to hip the gable end there was leaning it towards more of a cottage feel, which is not what the client really wants.
Or hipping at both ends to balance it.
Again,
It's a new,
It's a new house.
yeah, I don't see any reason why you can't design it without
Right.
needing pyramid relief.
Well, I think, again, our interpretation of the code is that the pyramid is for privacy protections for neighbors, and since that there is no neighbor, then privacy is not really a concern in this instance.
and you said there was a lot next door or not?
Yeah, there is.
There's a village parkland.
Belongs to the village.
Yeah.
So it faces that park area.
That's right.
Between this house and those condos. Townhouses, there we are. It's quite large. What's the parking that's shown here in the front yard?
They're gonna have a parking court in the front that will be shielded with plantings.
All right, so you got 2 cars in the garage. Looks like you got 1 in the driveway, you got 4, you got 7.
Right.
How many bedrooms in the house?
5 bedrooms,
All right, so
7 bedrooms.
7, so you need 6 spaces. There's 2 in the basement.
2 in the basement, 1 on the ground floor, 4 upstairs. I think it'll be rare that that many cars will be there. They're pretty young.
Four on the second floor, 1 on the first floor, and
That's right,
2 in the basement.
yes.
This is a proposed new house. I don't think we should get into what the off-street parking requirement will be. He hasn't asked for an off-street parking space variance.
No, he hasn't.
Right, there is discretion and the judgment of the building inspector. This is subject to that new law, but the building department has discretion and judgment to exercise in determining how many bedrooms it is, so we don't just take his word for how many bedrooms it is under that section. But that's something that the building department needs to do initially. They'll have to understand that, I mean, they're gonna have to provide whatever off-street parking they need as required by the code of the building department, and if they can't, that they can't build what they're proposing. But I don't think we should get into
No, it's just when I saw the four in the front,
I
I
mean,
was
it's good to
curious.
raise the issue so that they're aware that,
We don't often see parking in the front, even though that is now permitted.
I mean, the question here is, you know, it's apparently, I don't have a tax map, so I'm not sure exactly where this is, but I'm assuming that this is a village park, and do we want to set a precedent for granting variances that adjoin a village park?
This is the last house on the north side of Cooper's Farm Road.
Okay?
Well, I look at it, it's a brand new piece of property, you've got all this,
Yeah.
it's a blank slate, you could just move it around a little bit, make it fit.
Mr. Guider taught me geometry, so it's at least partially his fault.
Are you holding that against me? Or?
I'm trying to get an ally.
I don't know if that helps or hurts you.
Yeah,
Past the Regents?
they passed the Regents.
I don't know, is this the old Luss house?
Yes.
It is, it's the Luss house.
Yes, it's the Luss house.
I got it.
Well, she's not that old, it's a fairly new house.
No, like
10, 15 years maybe, or something like
former, I should say.
that. Yeah. So, we ready from anybody?
No more questions?
I think the concern is the fact this is going to be brand new. We'd like to try to avoid the pyramid wall variance. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to hear of this application?
So maybe you could go back and try to reconfigure it?
Just see if there's some way that they can get it without the pyramid wall violation.
Okay.
And do you list the cubic feet in this case? Do you list the cubic feet of violation?
256.
Oh, you do? Okay.
But again, it's no addition to the FAR. It's, above your head.
Right.
But it's not attic space, there's a window up in there, that's
It's
all clear
cathedral
spans.
hallway, yeah. I think really what it comes down to is the design intent and having the uniform ridge on the street, and hipping the gables, even symmetrically.
Yeah, but how much would you have to move the whole building over to miss that, and just this frame?
16 feet.
No.
Really? 15?
16 feet,
Seems like a lot.
or it's a little lower, you come down a little bit, too.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's already a 1.5-story house.
16 feet.
But you can make it wider,
Well, I just don't think that we infringe on anybody's view there. We're not gonna have, anyone additionally looking over onto a neighbor's yard or blocking any views with that additional gable. So to our office, we feel like it's an innocuous request.
Well, it is parkland we're talking about. Sometimes that gets viewed rather sacrosanctly in a way,
Mhm.
So you don't move the Metropolitan Museum into the park even. So I don't know, it's parkland.
Why don't you see what can be done, possibly? If nothing can be done, come back, but if something can be done, something can be modified. You're asking, how many cubic feet? 276?
256.
256?
because you don't even have a non-conforming lot where they any kind of, like, long and narrow, you know, you've got this whole lot to deal with here, so it's everybody that had a lot. Let's just take a little bit here and there, you know,
Sure.
it's, we have the zoning laws and setbacks without, so I understand what you're saying with the park area, but it's also an empty piece of land,
Right,
so, and with a conforming lot size,
right.
so.
Sir, on A300, it does it not say 1 inch, the scale that is, 1 inch equals 1 foot?
On A300, it should say that a 1/4 inch
Oh, it's a-
equals 1 foot.
okay,
You're looking at a
missing.
half size set there, so
I see, you're missing a bit,
1/8 of
you're
an inch.
missing the divider sign there. Anyway, if that's the case, this, looking at this A300, that's like 1 1/4 inch, that's like 5/4, that's 5 feet.
How do you get the
But-
16?
How do you get to 16?
But you're looking at a small size set there, it's half scale, so it's actually more like 1/8 scale, so.
How am I supposed to know what the scale is? I mean, if it says this is the scale and now it's not the scale, I'm confused. Is that,
I think that's
Odd.
just it's just a matter of the set being reduced for what the building department asked for. I mean, you don't have to take my word for it, but it's 16 feet. From the gable end west along the ridge.
16 feet meaning, let's see. So this is like 70 feet running? This building?
The length of the house, yeah. I mean, certainly we've had the conversation with the clients about amending the design prior to even coming here. But yet, here I am, so, I mean, I kind of know the answer to the question. They're not really gonna wanna go for it.
Oh. Well, we might not want to go for it either. What is this clear mahogany pivot hinge front door there? It's between the house and the garage?
I think what I can come up there and show you.
Okay.
Okay. So, what you're seeing right from here to here is this volume, right here, with the ridge running east to west.
That's 70 feet, so this area right here is 16 feet.
That's right. And then this volume here that you're looking at is right here, where the ridge runs north to south. This is the master library and the master bedroom suite. The garage isn't shown in the elevation here because it's so far back.
Oh, what is this?
So,
Just in front of the house.
this is, well, it's the street side of the house, although it's, 70 feet off the road. These two volumes are connected by this horizontal line and a recessed entry here, which is the entry right here.
Okay,
So it's two masses, but this is one volume that you're looking
all right, well, yeah, I'm not good at visualizing this, I guess, but does this have to be there? Could that be moved over there, or is this,
at. That's the front door of the house.
why is the front door here somewhere?
Well, the
Move it
idea,
all that way.
the idea was we try to arrive at the elbow,
Uh,
because it gives people the ability to go left or right, not enter right into the living room. You enter here, you've got a closet, you've got a powder room, you've got a breakaway library here, and then your living, dining, kitchen. So this is the design we like the best.
Oh, that's very nice, but we got this pyramid log here.
Right.
I'm not good at looking at plans, but I see that they have a setback of 25 feet from the west line and 20 feet from the east line. And from what I'm hearing, the pyramid law violation is in relation to the east side line.
Correct.
if the house were moved so it were 20 feet from the west line and 25 feet from the east line, that would presumably at least reduce, if not eliminate, I don't know, I'm not an architect, but that would certainly affect the pyramid law thing.
Well, I think our,
Now, I don't know about the west end, whether that would then create a problem there, but
I think our bedroom wing, that secondary volume, is on the west setback line. So we can't actually move the east to west volume without reducing the square footage of the house in the present configuration.
no. Your proposed house will be 25 feet from the west line and 20 feet from the east line.
I
And
understand
you're
what you're saying.
seeking a pyramid law variance on the east.
You're right.
If you move everything 5 feet west, you would be 20 feet from the west line and 25 feet from the east line.
You're right.
Without being an architect, I gotta think that's got to either eliminate or reduce the pyramid law request. I don't know whether it would trigger a need for a pyramid law on the west side,
I don't think it would help.
but if it wouldn't, then you can possibly conform with everything just by moving it 5 feet to the west and not need a variance.
I think we would still need a variance, but it would be for much less.
Well, that's an alternative that you should look at and provide us with information on.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd like to see it if you could do it without a violation of the pyramid law. If you could give us a drawing like that.
Okay.
Well, that's something to look at besides
You
this.
got your stairway over there, of course, to the basement, I gather.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Yeah, you have one on both sides. you
That's
know,
right.
So,
Yeah. These stairways,
yeah,
they're
to
not
finish
real
the whole
good.
basement.
Is there anyone from the public like to hear this application? No, so therefore we'll adjourn this for all purposes.
Okay.
So moved.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
You lost the attorney.
Is that
Attorney,
enough?
he lost his environmental consultant.
Yeah, wish you all a good night. We're done with you now?
Yes.
Good night, chick.
Let's see, 6 feet.
Score.
What's the side yard setback?
These 2 feet. On the application, case number 2929, 42 Old Town Crossing, LLC, 42 Old Town Crossing.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Timothy S. McCully of Council of Franklin Sullivan, 41 City House Lane, Southampton, for the applicant. Let the record reflect that I've handed up the affidavit of posting, affidavit of mailing. This property, which is the subject of the application, located in the R12.5 zoning district. It consists of an area of 14,000 square feet, is rectangular in shape, with an 80-foot frontage and a depth of 183 feet. The property was purchased by the applicant on November 7th of 2014. At that time, it was improved with a 2-story house and detached garage. I'm going to hand up that survey that was used at the closing, just to show you what the property looked like then. As I said, the garage was located 4.5 feet from the easterly property line. The applicant applied for and received permits to demolish the existing structures and build a new dwelling, garage, pool house, and swimming pool. Those structures were built and are shown on the survey, which I believe is in front of you as part of the application. I think you have that survey. The structure for which the variance is sought tonight
is for the pool house, which is in the southeast corner on that survey. The pool house, as designed and approved, includes a below-grade storage area. During the excavation for the contractor encountered problems with the soil and apparently wasn't compacted as tightly as presumed. In any event, what occurred was continuing collapsing of the area. So what happened was the offset stakes that were set by the surveyor at 10 feet got moved. A couple of them got lost in the shuffle. And at that point, in order to finish the project and without getting into more collapsing when we get the thing staked again, probably should have had it staked. It wasn't done. That was a mistake. But in any event, the stakes got moved, the box got moved and lost, and I think it was probably eyeballed a little bit. And so what happened was the pool house got built a couple of, about a foot or so out of alignment from the 10 feet. That was not discovered by the owner or the builder until the surveyor did the final survey. So that's when we discovered that it was 8.6 feet from the rear line and 9.5 feet at its closest point from the easterly side yard. And when I say the closest point, I'm going to hand up a schematic that was done by the surveyor, Marty Hand, which this is what he used to inform the applicant and owner that there was a problem. So he blew up a whole section, and you'll see on there that 8.6 is the closest point, but as you follow the line down, because it's not perpendicular, it goes to 9 feet on the back, and from 9.5 feet at the closest on the east, up to 9.9. I think on the east, they're pretty de minimis and compared to the requirements. I think it's obvious that this was an unintentional error, because no advantage was gained by having this thing 1.5 feet out of alignment. Furthermore, the applicant went through a very extensive and contentious hearings at the ARB when he was developing this property and the next door property. So the last thing that he wanted was to have another public hearing.
What's the side, what's that back here? Is the garage is 5 feet, what is the side that's supposed to be?
The 5 feet is because it was pre-existing garage there, so that's why that.
All right, so he's supposed to be 10 on that side.
On what side?
It's supposed to be 10 on both sides, front and back, setback?
Yes.
That's what he should have meant.
Pool house,
Yeah, the pool house.
yes,
So he's like 5 inches or
Yes.
half a foot on one and 1.5 feet on the other.
exactly.
So you're saying that he had contentious hearings at ARB,
Yes.
and he didn't want to come to here, the zoning board? or-
No, at the beginning, this is before any of this even happened.
Yes,
None of this was contemplated.
okay.
In other words, when he went in and he demolished the houses
Yes,
and built these new houses and what you see on that survey. But I'm saying, when he wanted to demolish the existing houses, there were quite a few neighbors who were in opposition to that. We reconfigured some of the structure on the dwelling, and we were approved by the ARB. I'm just bringing that up as a historical thing in the sense that the last thing that the applicant wanted was to have to appear at another public hearing.
before another board,
Another board. So I'm just pointing that out so that you don't think he took some kind of advantage. Furthermore, the applicant owns under different companies the easterly parcel and the westerly parcel. So the only parcel affected here is the one that comes in off Toilsome Lane.
Yeah, except those other two parcels will be sold.
This
He's
is,
not gonna own them forever.
No, one I think he's gonna live in, the other one, he's under contract, and we talked to the people in the contract, they have no objection.
they had it staked by a survey, 8-foot offset stakes, is that, and these, so, I mean, the triangles represent the stakes that the surveyor put in?
I'm not sure what you're looking at.
Well, that's what you gave me.
Yeah.
The triangles are representing the stakes that the surveyor
No,
placed.
that's what he put in originally where the thing was supposed to go.
Right, they're
But-
8-foot offset stakes, and the
Yes, he
mason and the
did.
excavator measure off of those stakes to do the foundation work.
Exactly, but what happened
So
was
it
the
was
stake-
staked,
Huh?
it was staked.
It was staked, but then the stakes got messed up because of the continuing,
There were
falling in.
all 4 stakes got messed up?
the contractor is here, I think I'll let him explain exactly what happened at the time.
Yeah, well, that would be good to know.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's why I
any
have
one
him here.
stake would tell you if you were off or off, you
Yeah,
know?
I think what happened here is that the stakes, but more than, instead of me speculating, let the contractor tell you, because he was the one who did the job. But I do want it for the record, there are, the back lot, there's two fences there, it's screened, completely screened, I'll hand these up, I apologize for the quality of them, but you'll see the screening, there's 2 fences, one on the back side, one on our side, plus heavy screening on both sides. So, I don't see how anyone
But you
is
also
gonna-
have the
Pardon?
air conditioning unit that's there is within the setback also,
Yeah.
so that's gotta get moved anyway.
Well, I don't know whether that was approved or not, I'm not here, but I didn't make an application on that.
So who's
so-
gonna explain about these stakes?
Okay, it's gonna be Frank DeVito, who did the construction.
We did have all 4 stakes put in with the overcut, the amount of fill, and with the cave-ins, we were losing stakes. We did have 2 stakes that we thought were good. And when we went in, pulled it, it came up twisted. There was no intention to put this twisted on the property. We were just fighting cave-in after cave-in.
So the soil was unstable, so wouldn't that behoove you to go back and maybe remeasure once in a while?
You know, citing it, it looked good. The pool, everything else came out perfect. If you're looking, you know, we didn't purposely twist that more. We
Yeah,
would
but
have
you were
liked to
putting
get
this
in
right
on
on the
45.
line. I mean, you staked it to be 10 feet from the property line, and you were building right to the
Actually, I
line.
think we staked it a little over 10 foot from the property line, so we definitely thought we were not trying to be directly on the line. You know, we were close, but we were not. There was no intent there. If it would have been a rectangle, if it would have been something we could have measured off of, we would have realized earlier, but because of the angle of that, there was really nothing, Mr. Gazowitz, to lay that out with, and never thought.
There's a lot on this property, it's a small lot, there's a lot on it. And in order to get the pool house there at all, you have to offset the pool, offset the corner of the pool. The
Yes.
pool is not a
Yes.
rectangle.
Yes.
So in order to squeeze in this pool house, you had to offset the pool at that end.
Which, as you see, the pool is perfectly rectangular.
No, the pool is not rectangular. According to this, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, I'm sorry, parallel. The pool offset stakes, everything with that was perfectly parallel to the properties. we have, you know, it was an honest mistake.
It was a careless mistake.
No. 35-year good record just got wiped out for one.
And,
Never say that again.
What about the AC unit? That's in the setback.
We're gonna move the AC unit to correct that. We're
Is
not
that
looking,
another- that's
we're not
another
looking for a
mistake?
variance for that,
That's going to be moved.
yes.
Nicely built. Nice job.
And the basement is partly higher than is normal, right? The basement under the pool house, which I think is allowed.
We put a
Well,
basement in the
what
pool
what
house
is it
for
under the pool
equipment.
house? Because you can't have a cellar under a pool house.
You can have a partial basement for your equipment, and we did meet all the codes with
Pardon?
that.
There's equipment in there, Rick.
Okay, I don't know, we don't have any plans.
Okay.
We don't know.
I went down and looked at
What-
it. They raised the slab up off the floor in a substantial section of the area so that it's like
5 foot?
5 foot, yeah.
Oh, so it's like a crawl space for storage.
Under,
And
Okay.
But
part of
there's
it
a-
is about 7 feet.
Right, the survey is misleading then, because the survey indicates a cellar entrance,
Which we have.
which suggests that it's a cellar, but you can't have a cellar.
Right, but
There's a 7-foot section for equipment, all the pool equipment's down there. So you don't want your servicemen servicing pool equipment and
Have to
pool
bend
heaters
the
on their
filters
knees
down there,
with it in their face.
The pool equipment is up on the slab.
It's not a cellar, it's a storage, it's a crawl space.
yeah.
Not completely. Only part of it's a crawl
Right.
space. The rest of, I was able to stand up and reach up and touch the ceiling
I,
in part.
okay, that we should not be determining something that's not before us, but I would ask that you go to the building department and get something from Jonathan Foster, or something in writing that, that all that stuff, that stuff is okay.
Yeah, okay. Nothing has changed from the plans that were approved by the building department?
We don't know that.
No, I understand that, I know.
I'm not doubting it, but we don't know it.
No, and I understand when somebody says it's a cellar entrance, that,
Raises a red flag. to me.
exactly, okay, I understand
So,
that.
it says it's on the survey,
I have no problem clarifying.
it's gotta be clarified.
did you already pass your final inspection?
Yeah, we did, right? It's
And
Wednesday.
you're gonna move the air conditioning units to a conforming location.
It has to be, we're not asking for any variance for equipment like that. We're just asking for the variance that we need because of the error that was made. And I think, Mr. Davini, you said maybe you should have had it restaked. Quite correct. In hindsight, wish we did. But there certainly was no intention. Nothing could be gained by getting a couple, a 1.5 foot on the corner of the building. That wouldn't, it would be silly.
These photographs show what's existing.
What was built, yeah.
Yes,
They're showing the existing pool house.
yes,
And do I correctly assume that it conforms to the height limitation?
yes. I'll verify that for you, Rick.
And let's see, the owner of the property is 42 Old Town Crossing
Yes.
LLC?
Who follows, Rick?
And you are the, I'm sorry, I've forgotten the name.
Frank
You are the
Pavino.
contractor
Yes,
or the builder, so you were hired by the owner to build this.
yes.
Okay. I think it would be a good idea also if you provided us with a copy of the site plan on which the building permit was issued,
Absolutely.
so we can see how everything compares to the as-built.
Okay.
And we haven't addressed what it would cost to make it conform.
I think that, well, I didn't do that,
then you're right, and I can do that for you in writing. But I know it's gonna be substantial in relation to the small variance that we're asking for. It's pretty obvious when you have a foundation underneath that it's gonna be a
I'm not
substantial-
suggesting that the cost would be insubstantial,
Right,
but it is a cost that,
okay, I'll supply that for
But please
if
don't.
the variance is denied, it's a cost that the owner would have to seek against the contract.
Yeah.
If it's granted, then the cost is to the neighbors, in effect.
I was gonna say, please don't insult us with, I don't know, $500,000 to move the thing, because that's what people have been doing to us.
Uh,
It's
Mr.
insulting.
Devaney, I've been doing this for 40 years. I don't mislead any board.
Right.
And I would ask you to go to the building department and see if there are surveys of the adjoining parcel to the east and the adjoining parcel to the south, the two parcels that are affected by the variances.
Okay.
So
I would, yeah, I'll tell you that the only one that the applicant doesn't control at the point is the one in the rear. And as I said, that house is set back and it has a driveway and garage that are accessed from Toilsome Place. So there's a great deal of stuff.
Okay, I'm not doubting what you're saying, but we need the picture.
You have to see it.
Yeah, could we see that, yeah?
Sure, I'll give you the neighborhood picture. I will hand up,
And maybe give us something that, in writing, that shows that the parcel to the east is under the same control. Again, everything you've given us verbally,
I will definitely.
basically documented.
I will do it in Spain. I'm gonna hand up a Google picture of the neighborhood, which shows our house in the middle, and you'll see the driveway in the back. But I will supply you with more detailed description of the exact surrounding neighborhood.
And, the survey indicates on the east, along the planted holly trees, on the south, a line of planted cedar trees.
Yep.
Maybe you could provide us with some information as to the height of those.
Okay.
There's lots of vegetation there.
Okay. Or I don't know, or maybe identify it better on
Well,
some photographs.
I did give you that, but my photographs were pretty bad, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll do that better.
That's the site.
And give us labeled photographs that show where the view was taken from,
Okay.
Yeah.
whatever, just so we get a better picture of the landscape.
Yeah.
We have two letters been submitted in opposition.
Yes, I have one.
We have one from,
I have an Ann McElvain letter.
well, she's got two letters, I believe. No, she's got one, I'm sorry. She's got one in this application and
Yeah.
plus one in the next application. She's the neighbor. Ann McElvain
Yeah.
is the neighbor. And
She's
she's in
what?
opposition to it, and she says it lives at number 70 Old Town Crossing.
Yeah, but that's not the neighbor. She's in the neighborhood.
Well, she's in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I'm a neighbor, I live in the neighborhood, I live at 70 Old
She's the
Town
neighbor, so
Crossing.
she's the neighbor.
Not the
If you
adjoining.
want to speak, you have to come up. Otherwise, they don't get it on the tape.
Well, okay.
The owner developer cleared the property and was therefore in complete control of the construction and siting of the buildings. He has built a 3-story, 5,350 square foot house with 7
Slower,
bedrooms,
slower.
5.5 bathrooms, a 17 by 36 pool house with bath, and a 1.5 car garage. All this on a third of an acre. Given the small size of the lot with no room for error, I would have thought the developer would exercise great care with regard to the zoning limitations, and setback, etc. But it is clear he did not and now seeks relief. This is a self-inflicted hardship they created for themselves. I believe anybody who violates the zoning should be held responsible. The zoning regulations are in place to protect the property owners, it is your duty to see that they are respected and enforced. Please deny these requests for variances respectfully submitted, Ann McElvain.
That says it.
Okay. Did you
But
want to say anything
please-
else? or-
No, I don't think so. Well, just to correct the fact that it says June 24th, I gave it to the building department this morning, which is June
Yeah, well, that's the
23rd.
second time too, I think.
At least the second, so just to be clear.
For the record, we got
Going
it, so we're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you said I submitted 2 letters, I didn't, I only submitted 1.
No, I was looking at the other application
Oh,
that
okay,
comes up
fine.
after this.
No, okay, I didn't write anything about that, just this, my concern,
Right.
okay?
There's another one here from Tarvin and Lester, attorneys at law, and they are representing the Southampton Association. And they wish to register their objection to the variance application, and much of their objections are the same as the ones we just heard. And they do quote some law, New York Village Law 7-7-12B. And they go on, do you have that letter, Mr. McCully?
No, I don't.
From the Southampton Association.
Okay,
That will be entered into the record also.
okay.
So we've got 2, one from Ann McElvain and one from the Southampton Association, signed by Madeline Vinjohn, one of the attorneys from Talbot and Lester.
Okay.
Is there anybody else in the public who'd like to speak?
Diane Richmond, 200 Lewis Street, Southampton, New York. This is a picture that was in the Southampton Press. Now, it appears to me that they could have put that pool house in a, moved it so that it would not have been in violation. And if they have to move it, I don't feel sorry for them. $6,950,000. There it is. This is strictly a self-created hardship. And to allow it would set a precedent in this village, which I think is very dangerous. When we went before the ARB, I will tell you it was the most contentious meeting I have ever been to, and I served on the ARB for 9 years. I never saw anything like it. They came in, and it's like what they all do now. Well, we're gonna have 4 bedrooms, and downstairs we're gonna have this room, that room, another room, but they don't say a bedroom. And then all of a sudden, we look at this, and it says 7 bedrooms. So they obviously fooled one of the boards anyway. But I just think it's a dangerous precedent to let them get away with this, because they certainly self-created this hardship.
Is there anybody else who'd like to be heard?
Somebody else.
Susan Stevenson, I also live in the neighborhood. I am asking you to enforce the law. I agree with what's been said. These people cleared the land, there wasn't the old oak tree that was in the way. If they had sloppy work done, I really think that they bear the responsibility for that, and that the precedent it would set, it would be dangerous. And since I live in these are small lots, there is no real leeway. They crammed all those buildings on there, and they had the responsibility to do it properly. I hope you'll take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to be heard? You had a question?
Yeah, when you do the, estimate to correct the problem?
Yes.
Can you give us a methodology on that?
Absolutely.
So we'll know what you're gonna do and how you're gonna do it, what would be involved?
Yeah.
I think basically you probably have to lift that building and then,
Yes, I've done this before, so I know. I'll make it very detailed for you so that you don't have to guess or assume on anything.
okay.
I just want to point out, that was a misstatement that was just made about the bedrooms. It was always 7 bedrooms. And as she said, it was very contentious, and that's why I brought it up before. To tell you that this has been hashed, there's been a lot of animosity, so that's what generates a lot of this.
May I say one more thing?
Yes, please.
You can say there was animosity, but from day one, 2 trees were cut down in front of these 2 properties of Mr., Mr. DeVito or Mr.
Folo.
Folo, I'm sorry.
That's not my.
I don't know, but the
village
trees,
did that.
the village trees in front of each of these 2 sites, 42 and 48, were cut down. I wrote the mayor at the time saying, by what right were these trees cut down? I was told that they were diseased. I happened to have taken pictures of the trees before they were cut down. They were not diseased. I took pictures of the stumps. They were not diseased. I asked for some kind of, well, how did that happen? So if there's animosity, it's because there's an arrogance associated with this, that we can just come in, cut down village trees. Now, they have planted 2 saplings, a sapling on each property, so I'm grateful for that. But that's not the point, you know. You have to respect the village, you have to
Were they village
respect the
trees or were
neighborhood. Village trees.
Did they
Did
get
the
cut
village
down
cut
by
those
the
down?
The
village?
village cut them down at the request.
No,
at the
no,
request.
I wanted to keep the trees.
Let's stop with the conjecture. Specifically, Mr. Folo went to the village and said, may I please keep, they enhance my property, I'd love to keep them. Absolutely not, they said they're diseased, they have to come down.
So the village cut them down.
Unbelievable.
And the village
So the
cut
village
them
cut them
down.
down.
The village cut them down.
Yeah, so that's got nothing
At
to
not
the
his
do with it.
request, but at the
responsibility.
request, I
So
was
it's not
told.
his, the village came and cut them down,
Okay.
that's the village's responsibility.
Sorry. I'd like to hear more about this basement under the pool house.
Well, that's
Because
what
I
we
think-
asked.
Right, but I
You could
think the
clarify.
stairs going down there would really infringe on the,
Well,
I think that is,
evidently the stairs don't count.
Yeah,
We
the
had
building
this- we had
department.
this
Oh, they
situation
don't
before.
count?
They don't
Count stairs,
count.
yeah.
We're seeing this everywhere, and it's an issue that I have problems with, because it's being equated with a Bilko door. It's not a Bilko door, and
right.
No, there are
it's much
steps and
more,
and there's a rail.
much more obtrusive than
As the
that.
code is right now,
That
you
they
don't
That is
count
legal.
that,
that doesn't count.
right.
We just had a case just like that, and we were told by the building department, it doesn't count.
Okay.
So,
But it is.
But is this
correction.
a basement though? Because if it is a true basement, I don't think the code allows it.
well, that's
It's got
what we
equipment
asked
down
to
there.
get
Nobody's
clarification.
sleeping down there,
Nobody's
nobody's,
in the basement.
you have pool equipment there. And like you said, it's very difficult to get down there on your hands and knees and service this stuff, kind of like to stand up when you do it, so. Well,
Wouldn't you
just a little-
think in a,
It's not living
It's-
space, I went down
No,
there, it
there's no
can't
living
be,
space.
I went down, there's not enough room for it to be living space. It's can only, the space that's there is for the equipment and storage of equipment. They actually filled it in and poured the slab up higher in a big portion of it, so it could never,
Be used.
afterwards maybe be made into a room, so.
And the pool pump
have
and
you
the
had
heater
this
are
issue
sitting up
before
there.
you before? Or
About
that,
Pool houses with space
with
underneath for
basements
equipment, yeah,
underneath?
people do it for, well, neighbors don't like the noise of the equipment, so it's
Yeah,
Would you rather have
actually
it upstairs?
quieter.
Noise. It's
No,
completely
bury it.
fine.
Yeah.
Bury it in the
It's
side.
much quieter for the neighbors underneath than it is out behind the building.
There's like an aisle that's a little over 6 feet high, so the guy can get down there and service the equipment.
okay.
But most of it is raised up. So there's about maybe 4.5 feet from the slab up to the ceiling.
Now, the question with the neighbors is what is it that is bothering you? The history of all this, the contention, or is it the 1.5 feet or whatever? I mean, are you really offended by the 1.5 feet stuff? Is it bothersome to you?
Come on up, Rosalie.
As I said before, these people should be responsible for building to plan. Either you allow incredibly sloppy building practices, which isn't very good, but I feel like there was no old oak tree where the pool was, or, some reason why they couldn't do it right and I feel they built it to the max, as Mr. Guzowitz said, and then therefore, it's incumbent upon them to do it properly. And if you allow everyone to cheat a little bit, things start to really fall apart around here, for whatever reason. I don't actually think the reason matters. I think that it matters that you enforce the law. And I'm asking you, as a person who's got property nearby, to do that.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? We're gonna hold this one open for all purposes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I'm sorry, right? There's a motion.
Hold it up.
Hold it open for all purposes.
Oh, okay.
The application of number 2930, Gerald Spray Reading, 47 Pulaski Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Alex Kriegsman, 279 Main Street in Sag Harbor. On behalf of the applicant, just handed up the affidavit of mailing and affidavit of posting. My client, Mr. Sprayergan, purchased this property in 2013. Prior to closing, we received an updated certificate of occupancy from the seller, Michael White from Georgia Builders. And the updated certificate of occupancy indicated that the house and the swimming pool conform to the code. My client hasn't made any changes to the swimming pool. He's entered into a contract to sell the house. In the contract, he has an obligation to deliver an updated certificate of occupancy. And upon applying for the updated CO, we learned that, in fact, the swimming pool does not conform. It's 16.1 feet from the property line, and it's supposed to be 20 feet. So we're here tonight asking for a variance. I would submit that this is a hardship for my client. He relied in good faith on the updated CO. I understand, I've spoken to the building department as well as the village attorney that this was issued in error. Apparently the survey that was submitted by the prior owner, they weren't sure if there was some shenanigans that went on or it was a lack of detail, but there was an error in the updated CO from 2013. We relied on that in good faith. If we do not receive a variance, my client would not only lose the deal, but if he had to move the pool, that would be something that would be very expensive. It was not self-created. He didn't put in the pool. He relied in good faith. The other alternatives, again, would be to move the pool, and I would submit this is not something that's going to have a negative impact on any of the neighbors. I believe there's a neighbor here to speak in favor of our application, which we appreciate, and the pool is already there now.
From whom did he get the original CO when he bought the property?
Michael White from Georgia Builders, that's who bought the property.
That's who built the house?
Yes.
And he built the pool, I had somebody build the pool?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he built it, he's a contractor, as I understand, I believe it was a spec house, I don't know if Mike White built the pool or whether he subcontracted for that I don't know.
Well, he got the CO directly from Mr. White?
Yes, and I've got a copy, I believe it's the
Okay, let
record.
me interrupt you, because you're gonna have to give us documents that back up whatever you're saying.
Okay, I mean,
Again, not that we're doubting what you're saying, but we're gonna need the October 7, 2013 CO that you referred to.
Okay.
Let me finish, because I guess maybe you haven't appeared before the board before. What we expect from is that you would provide multiple copies of the documents that we need, just like you filed multiple copies of the application.
Okay.
Because each member of the board gets a copy, I get a copy, there's one for the village file.
Okay.
So that we don't have to all come to the village office and look at one file to look at the documents.
Okay.
So we would ask for multiple copies of the October 7, 2013 CO. We would ask for multiple copies of the survey that was submitted to the building department to get that 2013 CO. Did that survey show the setback? Or did it just show pool without a setback? da-da-da-da. A copy of the site plan for which the building permit was issued on. I'm assuming that that's gonna show that the pool was gonna be 20 feet, but, you know, let's document. You got a building permit was issued for a proposed pool. Let's see the survey that was shown up. As
Okay.
a proposed pool. It's your client, was this, I don't know what was here before and what was built? Did your seller build the house and the pool and everything, or was it?
The party we purchased it from in 2013 built the house and the pool. By the way, I apologize, I have copies of those. I have one copy of the updated CO and the survey. I haven't appeared before this board before.
That's okay.
Bring multiple copies.
Maybe you got a copy of the building permit too.
That's why I interrupted you.
Okay, and I appreciate that.
Was this built for your client? In other words,
it was not.
Did you enter into a contract with your seller to build a house, pool, etc., and then you were closing when it was all done?
No, it was a builder spec house. I mean, I think there were some minor, and I can confirm this, things that were not completed when they went into contract, but this was a house that was built before he entered into contract with my client. It was not built for Mr. Sprague.
Okay. Like to find out. We like documents as to showing when the closing was.
Okay.
So we know when that occurred in relation to the CEO. I think you should provide us with a copy of the contract.
Okay, so you're talking about the current contract or the 2013 contract?
The contract between the seller and your client when your client purchased the property.
Okay.
You know, I'm not asking for confidential information. If there's anything in that
I don't think there is.
contract
I'll confirm that. Okay.
that you think involves privacy, you know, I don't have a problem with your Xing out some stuff.
Okay.
I want to get a look to see what he was buying. Was he buying, and when that contract was made, so that we can get the whole timing down.
Okay, I mean, if I may, respectfully, we submitted this, we confirmed that our application was complete, and I did have a conversation with you about, you know, I would have appreciated knowing that all these other documents are going to be asked for. Just having to wait until the next hearing it will be another hardship. If that's what you tell me we have to do, we're going to do it. But
Our conversation wasn't about what you needed to submit at the hearing. I think.
Yeah, it's my memory that it was, but again, you tell us what we need to do.
I made an assumption that you would, I don't want to use the wrong words, and it's late, so I wasn't giving you advice as to how to proceed at the hearing.
Look, whatever you want us to provide, we can provide all these things.
I have some issues with when you do submit a survey, there's pool equipment that's possibly needs a measurement that I'd like to see. There's a garage that's 4.9 feet off the line. And there's AC units that are, I don't know what, 5, 6 feet off the line.
They have a non-conforming area also.
Between the house and the east of
The garage, this is all new, this stuff. The garage is 4.9 feet.
Was the garage pre-existing or is it new?
I don't think I'll confirm all this, I don't think any of this is new. I don't think my client has done anything to the property since he purchased it. I think
It might be good if we had the builder in too.
When was the house built?
It was completed shortly before we closed in 2013. I think it was a 2012 permit.
But it's all new, I mean, relatively new, the garage.
It was new in 2013 when we purchased
Well,
it.
that's
So your
not
client
so
now
long ago.
wants to resell it, is that what he wants to do?
Yes.
Okay.
He hasn't done any work to the premises. The building permit, I only have this one copy here, but it was issued August 15th, 2012, building permit number 10781. And the CO, which is dated October 7th, 2013, was for the house, the pool, and the garage.
Can I see that?
So there was no CO issued before that?
I don't know the answer to that.
Are you
This- I
submitting
mean-
this?
No, no, I want
You
to, I
just
just
wanna,
want to see
you
it.
just wanna look at it?
Yeah.
Well, check on that too, because typically in the village, when you're buying property, you require the seller, even if there is an existing, a prior CO that covers everything, you require the seller to provide an updated CO.
Well, that's what this is. This is, we closed.
Right, but my question was there a CO issued before that? In other words, if everything was completed sooner, the seller might have gotten a CO in his name.
Is that the only CO on file?
Is that the only CO that was issued?
Yes.
So that was a CO issued as a follow-up to the building permit, not a CO having anything to do with your purchase?
Correct.
So it's in his name, not your name?
Correct.
We probably need some copies of that too. CO.
Yeah.
So,
We need some copies.
I'm gonna submit, this is October 7th.
Yeah, if we can get copies of that, it'd be great.
Okay.
And it would be good if you had the builder here. You can get him.
I mean, I don't know if he's gonna come, he's not in,
Well,
what he might find.
You can ask him.
Is there, just to, you know, try to cover everything the next time I come back, are there any questions or concerns
Well,
that I can
you have
address
the
now?
AC units, you have the garage right on the line. I don't know what the setbacks are. I don't know
Pool
what the
equipment.
Off the top of my head. Where the pool is, both side yard setbacks on the pool, just to measure everything.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, the pool's a real problem.
The pool is a problem. The pool's a big problem.
There was one woman, I think she was right off of 27, and she was having a pool built.
Next to Phillips.
Yeah, and she said that somebody hopped the fence and changed the stakes. And so they put the pool in the wrong location.
Stake changers there.
Right.
Okay, but I mean, in this case, the village issued an updated certificate of occupancy saying that the pool conformed. And we relied on that in good faith.
But building department error is not any reason for variance.
From what I can see, the survey the building department has doesn't have the critical measurement showing that side yard, which had been omitted from the
Well,
survey.
that's one of the issues that we're, yeah, definitely, that we need to know.
Yeah, no, I think that's the case,
I
but
mean, if
Who did the final survey after? That's it?
Stephen Burrell's.
He did the final survey.
this could be a lot more involved than you think it is. Yes,
Well, if we could discuss that now, that would be
Yeah.
helpful.
good faith reliance on a building permit or a certificate of occupancy can be an argument in support of a variance. Nobody's disputing that.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that necessarily that you always get the variance. That's what we're trying to look at.
I'm not asking the, it would be helpful to get some more feedback from the board. And I understand you want to see
So, I mean,
documents.
since you haven't practiced before the board, again, let me tell you one other thing. We have a work session,
Okay.
the Tuesday in the week before the Thursday of the public hearing. I don't have a July calendar.
Okay.
The 19th.
Anything that's filed in the building department ahead of the work session, we get at the work session, so that we get a packet, so that we can take it with us and review those things before the public hearing.
Okay.
So if you submit documents before the work session, then we will have received them at the work session, and by the time of the next public hearing, we'll have looked at them, and we may have questions that we want to ask.
Okay, but I mean.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
If you
but the-
come in at the hearing with these things, and we're seeing them for the first time, we may not have all our questions ready.
Sure, and I'm not trying to argue, but it's clear from our application what happened and the relief that we're seeking. I understand you want additional documents to confirm what I'm telling you, and I appreciate that and respect that, and we'll come to the next meeting with everything that you're asking for. But it seems to me that all the documents you're asking for are to confirm the things that I'm saying about when the property was sold, when the contract was, when this pool was built, who signed off on it. And so what I'm just asking now is, if we could get, if I could finish, Mr. DePietris, if, to get some feedback, assuming that the story that I'm presenting to you is correct, and it'll be on me to produce those documents, what, some feedback or questions.
Work session.
We understand that, but what's not clear is how a CO was given out. That's an error. That's,
Okay.
we'd like to know how that happened, if you can find out how that happened.
Okay,
That's why I asked to
spoke
see the
to-
builder, maybe he can
yeah.
explain that.
I spoke to him and I spoke to Mr. DePietris, and it's my understanding that just a mistake was made because a survey was submitted that either intentionally or unintentionally did not include all the critical details. And they went, most importantly being the distance from this pool to the side yard setback, and that was overlooked and the CO was issued.
That's what we'd like to find out.
Okay.
Okay, and that, if that's the case, it can give rise to other questions. Because you have to show good faith reliance on the building department.
Okay.
And if the building department survey, which was a survey that you were relying on in connection with your purchase, I don't know if it was certified to them or certified to you, or how you were doing it with your title company, but if you were relying on a survey, and the survey did not show the setback, then other questions come up.
Well, we were relying on the certificate of occupancy, which says that the pool conforms. And it seems to me that would be
I'm
a more,
trying to suggest some other questions that might come up.
Okay.
But apparently you don't want to hear them.
I do want to hear them, that's what I'm asking.
There's a letter here also.
We have to find out if your client relied in good faith. If he had a survey that didn't show the setback, is that relying on good faith?
I would submit it'd be more reasonable to rely on a CO from the village than from a survey, but I understand that that's a question. Thank you.
All right, just let me get this letter in, please.
Okay.
Again, it's from the same firm that the letter before, Tarbert and Lester, attorneys at law, and they're objecting to the pool, and they're quoting from village law, and they're quoting from the balancing test, that this hardship would be self-created, and obviously they're in opposition to it. And it's signed by Madeline Ben-John, the same lady that signed the other letter in opposition to the previous application. So that will be entered into the record. So we're going to hold this. Is there anyone else from the public who'd like to speak?
Good evening, gentlemen, esteemed council. My name is Myron Holtz. I'm the owner of a property at 24 Pulaski Street, which is across the street from this house. And I received a notice in the mail. I was not aware that there was an issue at 47 Pulaski Street until I received a notice in the mail of a public hearing. And I came down to speak. I don't know Mr. Sprayregan, but I felt that the relief he was asking for was not something that happened at his fault, but it sounds to me like this is a case of, caveat emptor, buyer beware, and what do you do and what do you rely on as documents when you purchase a property, and then when you go to sell and then you find out something else has crept into this complex issue. So, but as a neighbor, I don't have a problem with the setback requirement and the granting of a variance in view of the type of hardship. And again, I leave it to the board to determine whether or not there was motive behind the change and the error or what caused it. But I think that this is a case of, if it turns out to be that if somebody relied on certain documents submitted by the village, that would be a basis for respecting the hardship provision in the code and allowing the variance. Because I have no objection to it, I don't see it as a major issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak? Therefore, we're gonna hold this open for all purposes.
Yeah, but let me just mention one other question that occurred to me. The adjoining parcel to the east, which is the parcel that would be directly affected by the variance, can you go to the building department and see if they have a survey of that property? So that we can see.
Just so we're clear, Mr. Beach, which property are you talking about?
To the east, it's an empty lot.
Oh, it's an empty lot?
Yeah,
Right
I mean,
now.
it looks like it's gonna be developed at some point.
It's vacant right now, okay, then that doesn't help us.
Yeah.
Forget that, that's how we.
Okay.
But it will not always be an empty lot.
Right, but I mean,
Do we have a motion to adjourn this for all purposes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
The June 2016 meeting of the Southampton Village Zoning Board of Appeals is closed.